This meeting is being recorded.
This meeting is being recorded. I'm going to make the announcement later. I'm just recording it for posterity. If anyone has any objections to this being shared anywhere like YouTube, just let me know and I won't put it up, or I will with a password, so it's password protected. Hi, Spike. Hi, Kevin.
Is Spike here?
Brant?
Spike is there. This
Wow.
is wonderful.
Wow.
Oh,
So
there's
we'll give everybody a little bit of time to show up. There's quite a few invites out there, so
What?
I'm going to try to kind of like, if there is such a thing as moderate, just to keep things under control a little bit. But we'll give everybody a few more minutes to show up. I won't keep you long.
And
who's that?
and Joanna, you're a stranger to StarToons, but we're glad you're here.
I humbly beseeched Ron to let me come today.
Nice.
Joanna's an instigator. She instigated the Animaniacs with you and Tom talking about your
Yeah.
great career delivering meat on the south side of Chicago, and she instigated this whole thing here, asking me if, hey, do you think that we'd be interested in doing that? And so I followed through, and here we are. And so she is here to bear witness today,
Okay,
That
I
sounds
like
great.
that.
along with Tom Ruegger. Tom, I guess, should be an unofficial, official member of StarToons. Are you here, Tom?
Oh,
I'll take that as a yes. And we just had Noel join us. And one of the Jims.
Noel Sabi, how are you? Yeah, and sorry, and Jim.
where's Jim?
Yeah, right here.
There he is. Jim
Jim's
Peebles.
right. That's Jim Peebles. Jim.
And we got
Jim
TJ
Peebles.
House.
Wow.
Hey,
And TJ's here. And Adrian's here. Awesome.
Is that TJ?
Yeah.
Yes.
Wow.
Oh, man.
I just
haven't
want to say
seen TJ's
hi.
face
It's 1
20
o'clock in the
years.
morning, so I'm extremely sleepy, but I just want to say hi to the StarToons family. Before I go
All
up.
right. Well, we know you California guys are always late to get up.
No, I'm in Berlin, John.
Oh,
Berlin.
Wow.
What?
Yeah, that's what I said. It's 1 in the morning here. I gotta talk quiet. I don't want to wake my daughter up. So
Yeah,
I
those
want to say hi to
Germans.
everybody.
Those Germans want everything to be everything in Ordnung.
alles in Ordnung.
Ah, das ist good. Sehr good.
Ah,
Yeah,
das ist
well, we
gut.
lived in Germany for a couple of years.
We did, and I still didn't
Yeah.
learn the language.
And we
man.
have James Tucker. I see.
Wait
Hi,
a
James.
minute.
And now,
Hey,
Wait a
is that
minute.
James?
That's James Tucker down there.
Oh.
wow,
Dude.
James, it's good to see you.
Dude.
Man, you guys aged well.
Hey, James.
Muted. Hi.
What are you talking about?
Oh, hello, hello. Who said it was good to see me?
And we have Dave Pryor joining us now. I imagine some of the WMS gang will be joining us shortly. Is Dave?
Hey, guys.
Dave.
Do we not want video going?
Hey, good to see you.
It's going. Is it? I think they can-
Hi, Dave.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Hello.
sorry. Dave Pryor, where's Dave?
Right there in
There's
the yellow,
Dave.
right there.
Wow.
And we have Mike Feeney signing in.
And sorry, I saw Adrian there.
I am.
Oh, look, Tom Ruger's up there.
There's Ruegger. He's got his entrance going.
Mike Feeney. God, at least someone else
Mike
got
Beanie,
great
good
hair.
to see you.
Hey there. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Good, good, good. Oh, great to see everybody.
Yeah. The magic of this crazy new world we live in.
Yeah.
Where's
can you
John's
believe it,
video?
John?
I guess
No
we-
picture, no picture from John?
Oh,
Is that
really?
right?
There's no picture?
All right. Why aren't we sending pictures?
Well, I can see pictures. I can see us.
Yeah.
Sending video, it says. I don't know. What does it say?
Technical difficulties.
Wait. It said something about turn off. Oh, gosh.
Technology.
Yeah. It's funny. Ron, I saw that tour that you did of
There.
StarToons.
Oh,
There it is.
yeah.
Yeah.
There it is.
Chris.
They're the McClenahans.
Yeah, here's Dave.
That's everyone
Hey,
there.
Chris.
Hey,
Dave.
Chris, hi, Dave.
And me.
Well, this is terrific. So, look, I gathered you all here today because Tom Ruegger has called for additional retakes on Magic Time.
Of course. Of course.
Oh my gosh, magic time.
I was afraid we'd be doing a sequel to Little Dogs.
Or
Oh,
balloon
yeah.
or Balloonatics. Who could forget Balloonatics?
Oh, my
Balloonatics.
goodness, Balloonatics.
Yeah.
Tom
we got-
Ruegger, you don't know what Balloonatics was, do you?
Which show was that for?
It was not one of yours. It was a project we got. My gosh, Ron, now my mind's gone blank. Who was the guy?
It was your friend from New York,
I know, Mitchell, something, Brian Mitchell.
Brian Mitchell.
Mitchell.
Brian Mitchell.
Brian Mitchell came up with some deal to produce a show, and he enlisted our help to help him produce it.
Was it one episode or many?
No, it was one episode, and I don't know, everybody, I want to see everybody give a thumbs up or thumbs down on that one. Yeah. Yeah.
My stuff was brilliant.
That's good. Yeah.
Yeah, it was, well, I think he paid us, so that was good.
There's
Yeah.
Spike Brandt. I see Spike Brandt there with a hat. He looks like a late night talk show where they don't want to show the faces.
That's Kurt.
Hey, Kurt. Nice.
Nice.
nice to meet you. We got Kurt Canellis here too.
Nellis.
There he is.
Hello.
And the fiend.
So, what I thought we'd do just to kick things off is just go through everybody and just introduce yourself and if you remember the years that you worked at StarToons, what years were you here? Maybe what you've been doing since. If you have any particularly fond memories of StarToons, let's keep this on the positive side. And who should play you in the Netflix docuseries on StarToons? So let's start with some of the OGs. Let's start with Perry. Perry, who are you?
I ask myself that many times a day. Perry Zambolis, I was John's student at Columbia College and got yanked out of there to work in a basement in Homewood with a few other people in the old days. And yeah, I have nothing but positives about it. I mean, I still tell the stories all the time about the history of the place. And it's funny because looking back on the episodes that were done at StarToons, I swear we did like 1,000 episodes. And seeing the count, it's really funny that it was like, you know, this cherry-picked amount of really cool episodes that we got to do. But hi, Tom. By the way, I met Tom Ruegger at
Perry.
recently at 2 weeks ago, I guess. What is it, like 2 weeks ago? But
WonderCon.
over here. Yeah, WonderCon. For the
Yeah.
first time, I got to meet a bunch of the Animaniacs people, which was great.
That was great seeing you.
And really, I was talking to Spike about this the other day on the phone, but Perry, I think you were possibly one of our first employees.
When I started at StarToons, it was, well,
There was-
McClenahan's obviously, and Nate was there, and Spike was there, and
was
Brand,
Spike already there?
Spike was there, and Tammy Daniel was there.
Right, okay, there you go.
And I think that was it at the time.
Yeah, and as he said, we were all working in our basement.
The basement of your house as opposed to the basement of 900 Ridge Road,
Correct.
which was our second basement we worked in.
Hi, Tony.
Tony
Hey, Tony's
Cervantes.
here. Hey, Tony.
Hey,
Woo!
Hey, hi.
Hey,
All right, Perry, are we wrapped up? Is that good?
yeah.
All right,
Okay.
who's he gonna play? Who's playing him in the movie?
All right, Spike, say hello. It's so nice to see you. You gotta unmute yourself.
Muted.
And that's kind of my story. I'm Spike Brandt. I'm trying to remember exactly when I was there. It was a little less than 3.5 years. I'm guessing it was like fall of 1990, maybe. Does that sound about right?
Sounds plausible.
And you know, like Perry is saying, you know, we started out in your basement, just a couple of people. And I remember when I went over there to be interviewed, and I'd known Jon from Sione's, right? Like you got a place across the street from Ray.
Right.
And I remember meeting you there, and you offered me a hot dog or whatever it was, and
And I was a big fan of hot dogs.
that was a big thing. And I don't remember how much, you know, maybe it was later that year or a year later. I mean, I know you did a little bit of work at for Senate. Didn't you do that Tiny Toons thing for Senate?
I did, but I think that was well after you had joined us. But
I think it might have been before, but anyway, we had met, and Jon called me over. I went over to his house for this job interview, and I had been knocking around Chicago for, you know, a couple of years, and, you know, nobody had actually hired me. So the thought of being hired was pretty amazing. And Jon, you know, he was explaining about Tiny Toons, and he had already worked on the show, and he pulled out a stack of drawings of Yosemite Sam. And I mean, it was that thick, right? And he flipped through it, beautiful animation, very expressive stuff. And then he was explaining about, okay, so this is about 18 feet. And so you probably have to do, you know, a couple of these a week.
Oh my God.
It was like, in my mind was like, I don't even know if I'd done that in a whole year. And so I was petrified, but I thought I will take a chance on this because it was such a special opportunity in Chicago to have, you know, an offer to work on something that was actually meant for entertainment. So.
Yeah, the last I'd heard, Spike, you'd been working with George Eastman, which is where Ron was, right? And
I worked for all those places, doing whatever I could. Yeah.
Yeah, and I remember it was kind of hard to convince you that this was a real job offer, and that I was going to pay you for more than a week.
But I will say the first project that I ended up working on for Jon was a Keebler elf.
Yes.
And it was you know, it was the Keebler elves, and I think it was like combination live action, the way I remember it, or they have live action sets or something like that. And I remember getting a big chunk of that to do, and I worked on it, and Jon had a big section of it. And then I ended up being homesick with the flu. And Jon called and said, you know what? I just sent it all back. And I was like, I didn't even know you could do that. But I thought, oh no, this isn't beginning well.
If you guys don't mind, I don't have a ton of stuff, but I will pepper things in there now and then.
Yeah,
just so you can see whatever stuff I do have. So see if you can see.
What is that? Sorry.
Keebler elf.
Keebler elves.
Is it a Keebler elf? Is it one of the ones?
It's I think it's probably just like a bad cleanup that like ended up, you know, on my desk or whatever at the time. I have like some bits and pieces, little artifacts from the days, but that was that Keebler stuff.
Okay. Wow. And by the way, Kevin Barber, I didn't say hi to you, did I? How are you? And I see that Leslie Jenner snuck in.
And
Are
full
you-
gullet.
and full gullet, for goodness sakes. So it's good to
goes-
see all
He
of
goes by
them.
Goulet now.
So Goulet, all right. But the Keebler Elf job was a disaster. We had gone to Los Angeles and we'd met with Tom. I don't know if you remember anybody in the commercial end of things, but there's a guy with a little studio named Sam Cornell, and he worked with a kind of a cute little gal named Cheryl Abood, and and they said, oh, we're working on these Keebler Elf things, and would you like to, we can test you out on one. And so Spike and I did some animation. We did a pencil test, and we sent it to them, and they just ripped it up from top to bottom. They hated it, and I just thought, well, if this isn't going to make them happy, we are not going to be able to finish this thing. So that's why I just decided to send it back. I said, sorry for bothering you and taking up your time.
Now, did they pay you for the work you had done?
No.
Yeah, that's lovely. That's lovely.
So the first thing I did for you was like you did pay me. So
oh, yeah, I paid you.
Maybe I might still owe you some money. I don't know.
No. I and that's the other thing is I probably owe everybody here some money. So yeah, I'm not going to tell you where we're located.
Secret bunker.
Well, that was cool. Let's see. Let's get some other people in here. You can't have Spike without mentioning Tony almost in the same breath. So, hi, Tony. How are you?
I am pretty good. It's nice to see everybody. This is really cool. It'd be even better if we were all in the same place, but this is. I don't really leave this garage very much, so this is the way I see everyone nowadays.
So, when and how did you join StarToons, Tony?
Well, I was working at Calabash with Spike, and then Spike told me about it, and then introduced me to Jon, and was like, and I think at Calabash we had animated that Happy Meals commercial, right? There was a Tiny Toons Happy Meals commercial, so I had a tiny bit of doing some assistant work on that spot, so. There were a lot of people in Chicago with Tiny Toons experience in those days. So.
You were working at a bookstore too, weren't you?
Yeah, and then I was working at Crown Books. So I was doing I was doing as many full-time jobs as I could, and then I was able to quit the bookstore and work in animation full-time for the first time, and that was a huge deal.
Yeah, I remember that was another one where I had to try and convince Tony to come on, and he didn't want to because he got
health insurance
with the bookstore, and we weren't offering health insurance at the time. So I think I had to give him some kind of BS about working on stuff that he liked working on, and not hopefully making enough money to buy his own health insurance. And then eventually I think we did offer health insurance, but we weren't in that position at that time.
It's funny because talking about those days and thinking back at those days, and Spike and I have talked about it a lot, like this is really the beginning of anything going on. Like we were living in fear constantly. Like, right. And I was just out of school. I was pretty young and I was scared about everything. Like I just thought I'm putting myself in jeopardy to pursue animation. And it was like you wanted to be a blacksmith or something. There's probably more opportunities for blacksmiths than there were at that time for animation.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Chicago, yeah.
What was the first thing that you worked on, Tony? Do you remember?
It may have been Henny Youngman Day.
Huh?
Yeah, I think it was. or one of the early Dudley, was it Dudley the dinosaur? What was the dinosaur's name?
Dudley.
Yeah, there was Dudley going on too. So
let's keep moving to some of the other OGs. Jim Peebles, you're here.
I am here. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Hi. What year did you join? What year did you join us?
I want to say 93 or 4. I can't be specific, because I'm old and I'm forgetting things. But it was one of the highlights of my career, actually. All the fun we had and all those guys in the back room. We had the fish tank and all kinds of craziness. And boy, it really was fun. But since then, God, I've done a lot of teaching and other careers and still drawing.
Who was in that back room with you? I remember Perry was back there, right?
Joe Swikowski, Perry,
Martika.
Todd Carter.
Quite a few. Yeah, Perry was there sometimes.
Yeah, it was hard to nail Perry down.
Perry was a handshaker. He used to shake my hand every time I walked by him. He used to hold out his hand. Finally, I started doing this little thing, where I tickle the inside of his palm and freak him out, so he stopped doing it.
Yeah, that'll do it.
Yeah, and okay, cool. And James Tucker. Hi, James. Yeah. God, I haven't seen you in a long time, buddy.
I know, 90 something. Yeah, but no, I mean, are we doing the origin story? I'm class of 93, and my story is weird in that I'm from Gary, Indiana, as is TJ and Spike. I don't know if anyone else is, but I'd moved to Tennessee and had been in Tennessee for like 15 years, and I had enough and was in the process of moving back to Chicago with no plan at all. I just had to get out of Tennessee. And I saw this article about StarToons in this magazine. I guess you guys had gotten an order for, I don't remember what the show was. It must have been either Animaniacs or something Tiny Toons related. And because I had a tiny car, I had to take 7 trips to move from Nashville to Chicago. Yeah. And on my 5th trip, I saw that article and I was like, and I literally had one interview lined up and I'm like, I'm going to call these people. Back in the days where there was phone books and you could look it up and go, oh, they're in the phone book. So I called up and I think I spoke to Chris and, never in a million years did I think I'd get that far. And she's like, oh, well, yeah, why don't you come in tomorrow? And I'm like, holy crap. I had no portfolio. I mean, I was an art major in college, but at this point I had so I stayed up the whole night and just drew what I thought was a animation portfolio.
Beautiful.
Cell. I did a fake cell with gouache and acetate, the kind of acetate you used to have in notebooks. And so I went in. Had I known that, you guys were going to hire me because I could hold a pencil, probably, I wouldn't have worked so hard because I was on fumes that day. And then you guys hired me and the rest is history. I was like, and I remember you were on Ridge Road in that building. And I remember walking back to my car and I literally clicked my heels and I had no idea. I had no idea that would change the trajectory of where I was going so much. So I know I said thank you before, but thank you again.
Remember the first thing you worked on?
I mean, I think if you guys were paying janitors, I probably would have been the janitor, but I remember we were working on something. I don't know if it was a Dudley, but I remember what my first gig was, painting out holdout mats for a light flashlight. It was really labor intensive because there was whatever we were working on was a mesh of live action and animation. And there was some fish involved.
That fish spot?
It was Trusty.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Yes, that was it. And so my first week or 2-3 weeks was just painting in black holdout mats for the flashlight effect.
Oh.
Wow.
And that was it. Now I learned from the ground, you know, because that was, but it
Now,
was.
what was the
perfect
name
way
of
to
that
learn.
show? What was the name?
That
of
was
it?
that was kids piece. That was kids piece. It was a commercial.
It was a public service announcement. It was probably one of the worst ideas I've ever seen, but it was a goldfish who was talking to the audience about these kids who were, he would sit in the goldfish bowl and watch kids get abused. And he was saying, you know, the idea was, I guess, that he's a goldfish, so he couldn't do anything about it. But if you saw any abuse going on, you could do something about it. And James, you did a great job on those holdout mats.
Good, because I had no idea what the heck I was doing.
We had everybody in the McClenahan family painting those things, I think.
Yeah, we were still in the basement, and I think it was right before we started Taz-Mania, I think. Or maybe we did a 13 something in between. I know we did. I don't know where that
remember, James, I actually remember one of the first assignments we gave you was animating. And it wasn't animating. I know we probably had you do some in between first, but your first animation assignment, I thought, was on, Tom, what was the episode with Siskel and Ebert?
Oh, critical condition.
Critical condition.
Yeah.
I think I was animating by then.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Oh my God.
You put all of us on that show. Like,
Did we? Yeah.
That was like an all-star lineup of, you know.
That was like being thrown in the deep end of a pool full of acid.
I know.
You got to draw a dinosaur.
I was like, you might swim, but you're not getting out alive.
You know, as I was thinking about it on the way here, I'm gonna just say this. I hired all you guys, and I feel I was blessed incredibly to be able to get each and every one of you guys on our staff. You're all unbelievable, and you're all incredibly talented. But at that time, I was actually just hoping I could throw together something that would keep me employed. So I mean, all of my motivation was really survival. I wanted to have a studio where I could work every day. And when I came to Chicago, that studio was Sione Artworks, and I quickly decided that wasn't going to work, and so I needed somewhere else. And I remember I went to Tom Sinnott to try and get a job with Tom, and he didn't like my demo reel. Yeah. Well, actually, his secretary didn't like my demo reel. She wouldn't even show it to him. And so I just thought, I've got no chance here in Chicago unless I do something on my own. So, and then if any of you caught the interview,
this secretary holds the keys to the kingdom.
She did. She really did. And so I like I say, it was just a matter of survival at that point. So anyway, I've said it.
Okay, and Tom's rocking a screen background from Critical Condition.
Oh, I just took it away. Sorry.
Oh, okay. Well, you were.
There's another one. That's another one from Critical Condition. They couldn't believe that Hiskel and Ebert were so mean.
So I wanted to show you real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
The first thing I ever worked on for John, was when I was still working as a teacher's assistant at Columbia College, and you gave me a scene to work on. I believe this was when I was there, but here's a John classic. So this is the actual.
Oh my gosh!
Who is that? Fume.
That was for the bumper. That was for the first bumpers we did for Tiny Toons. I'll bet.
Yeah. Tom, remember the test you gave us? It was to see if we could actually handle production. It was right after we had met you in LA, and we had already discussed the fact that I had done some work on Tiny Toons through Kennedy Cartoons, and you weren't working with Kennedy Cartoons anymore, so you sent us a test of some of those opening bumper scenes.
And they hit it out of you hit it out of the park.
Okay, well, I know we got Henny Youngman after that, so that was good.
And we all love. Now, Spike, I think both Spike and Tony did a lot of work on, was it the Baby Plucky one? I forget.
Oh, yeah.
That's a beautiful cartoon.
The potty years.
The potty years.
Right.
I first, oh yeah, look at that. Yeah. I first read, I'll give you my little, I first encountered John's drawing talent and ability when we received at Hanna-Barbera a Pound Puppies episode, and which is not a great show, but Jon McClenahan was animating on it, and he drew Whopper, who was a little cute character with teeth like these, with teeth, and Whopper didn't really have teeth like these, but when Jon McClenahan drew him and had him laughing, and he had these great teeth, and I said, who did this? We have to get this guy to do everything because they're so great. Yeah, and so like the and these are the same sort of fun, happy, the teeth. And John, so anyway, I was thrilled to finally meet John in an elevator in LA, and he was leaving, and I was just coming in, and I don't know how we started talking, but who were you with? Whom you were? I think Ron was there, was he?
I was there, and we were a little bit disappointed that we didn't get to meet you, and we were kind of like mumbling behind your back, or if you were in front of us and behind your back, and if we were in front of you, then you were behind us. But you must have caught on that something was going on, because you asked us like what we were doing there, and John's response was something like, "Who the hell are you?" or something like that. And you told us, and literally when we hit the first floor, we hit the button on the elevator and just rode right back up with you. So it was it was one of the few times John and I worked together in LA looking for work. I was going my own way looking for my own stuff. But anyway, I digress, but that was the famous elevator ride.
I don't know why they wouldn't have walked you down and said hi, but anyway, yeah, I loved the bumpers that you did, and of course, you guys really, that Henny Youngman Day it's a spectacular episode. I mean, it's 22 minutes of great animation, and if that alone should have kept you guys going for years.
Well, I want to take a short break here to I think we've gotten through all of the OGs. So a few people who couldn't join us today were Kirk Tingblatt, another one of our great animators, our high-powered animator from Minneapolis, right?
Right.
Grabbed him, and Stan Fukuoka, original background artist, the Big Kahuna, and Mary Hanley and Tammy Daniels were two of our original employees. Mike Thor, Thunderguard Fritz, right? Who couldn't be with us. He doesn't have a strong enough internet connection wherever he is in the frozen tundra. And we had a couple of Rodneys with us, Rodney Whittam and Rodney Tyree, right? The way you can tell.
Hey, did we hear from TJ?
Oh, sorry, yeah, TJ. That's right. We got to get TJ. TJ, you're here, right?
Yeah, I'm here.
TJ, why don't you say yeah?
He's in Berlin.
Well, he's awake.
Yeah, TJ's here in the middle of the night from where? Germany, are you?
Berlin. Yeah, Berlin. Yeah.
So yeah, I'm sorry. Let's say hello. I want to get everyone in there. So TJ, take it away. When did you join us?
Man, I can't even remember. Was it like 94? No, because it was.
I think it must have been 93.
93.
92.
Wow.
Top of 93. Yeah.
Yeah, because I started out I was drawing dinosaurs for PBS, this dinosaurs documentary series, and that's all I had was this dinosaur animation. So I don't know. I don't even know how I got to StarToons. I don't know. Like, you know, I don't know if I looked them up on in a phone book or something. But I know I went home. They told me someone on the phone told me to come with some cartoony animation. So I did. I drew this. I didn't know what Tiny Toons was really, but I drew this girl, and it had a really long tail, right? And this tail was just like whipping all over the place, right? And I was living in Gary, Indiana. I had to catch a bus to the Gary train station. Then I took the South Shore to Chicago. Then I took a train from Chicago down to Homewood.
Oh,
I didn't
my
have a car.
Oh my gosh.
And I just remember John flipping through this. He's like, "No, we don't do that kind of animation." But I got hired. He took a chance on me and hired me. And my first day there, I go into my cubicle and I see this guy, and I was like, "I know you." And it's James. And James and I went to Washington Elementary, and he was like a god, man. He was like 4 years above me, and his drawings would be all over the school. And I was like, "Oh, I want to be like James Tucker." Remember that, buddy?
Yeah, I was with you. I was with your sister, Andrea, and you were
Andrea, yeah.
My brother. So I knew of you. And then we moved away in 79. And so I hadn't been back I hadn't been back until I moved back.
Yeah,
for this job.
Hopkins, I think our art teacher was Hopkins, man. He was always showing your work. Yeah. And then
I had no idea about all that. Drawing was what I could do, and I stuck with it. That's all I knew. And so I had no idea, because when we left Gary, we left like quick. I didn't know we were leaving, put it that way. And so I had no idea that there was this. I had left a trail or a reputation, but yeah, Gary. Spikes. Your father was the minister of the Lutheran Church, right?
Yeah.
And my Boy Scout troop used to meet in the basement of that Lutheran church.
Wow.
And I'm sure there were a few times we had events in the church, so I'm sure I saw you.
Yeah, and
I went to Spike's church.
Yes, I know TJ when I
remembers there.
Yeah.
Yeah, then I walk around the corner and I was like, "Chris Brandt."
Right.
And
we shared a little cubicle, and literally our chairs were back to back because that's how small it was, and we'd have to tell each other, "Okay, I need to get up now."
Yeah, right.
It was that was an intense workspace. I'll put it that way.
Yeah, it really was.
I think I've seen more room in habit trails, and those are good times, though. Boy,
it really was. And I just remember, I think after a few months, I was struggling with cleanup and in between, and I can't remember verbatim, but I just remember John saying, that your cleanup line is awful. We're going to move it animated. And I just couldn't cut it, man. My line was just way too squiggly. Yeah. And I do have to say one story that's StarToons related, because I heard all these stories about Tom Ruegger. Of course, I never met the man. We go. I started Warner's Classic Animation, animating, and there was this guy, my buddy Frank Moliere, really funny guy, and he writes he wrote like a little Post-it note like, "Your animation sucks, Tom Ruegger." And you guys probably remember, I had a temper back in the day. I mean, I could go from 0 to 10 pretty quick, So I took this Post-it and I marched into Tom Ruegger's office. I think I burst the door. There was he had a secretary, is Heidi or something. And she's like, "Wait, you don't have an appointment." "I don't care." And I bust the door open and I said, "Did you write this?" Tom looked at me, he's like, I don't know who you are. Stuff like and I felt like, oh shoot, I'm about to get fired.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Oh man.
Tom, was that a
You remember
date?
that,
I met
John?
Tom.
You probably don't.
That is
I met
that,
Tom standing in, and we were standing in line to see a studio screening of Batman and Robin. And you were standing in front of me, and that was the first time we had met. I don't even know if I said, "Oh, I worked at StarToons" or anything, but I had already been at Warner's out in LA for a couple of years by then. But yeah,
yeah, this was the group of people that came out of StarToons. I'm almost I have to apologize, John, for stealing all these incredibly talented people. It's unbelievable what all you folks have gone on to do. Just incredibly impressive, awesome. And I'm sorry that I wrote that to you.
No, you didn't. You didn't. That was the joke. You did not write that, man.
No.
He finally admits it.
And Dave Pryor, you were part of the original crew, right?
I started in '92. That was the year I came in. I was John's animation assistant at Columbia. And I didn't take his class. I was his teaching assistant and did every single assignment because I knew that was the way to get into the StarToons group. And so I started that summer. I completed my last year of school, then I restarted again in '93. And the first cartoon was the Christmas special for Tiny Toons.
Good. I remember Dave and Ron. You're like the head of the animation department now at Columbia, right?
No, I gave up that title.
Okay.
Too much work. I just teach now, so it's a lot easier. I'm working on getting fired actually, but that's another story.
Well, back then I was using. I got a gig teaching animation there once a week, and I basically used that as a front for recruiting talent. And when I saw, guys like Perry or Dave, I remember the guy who was the head of the animation department back then, Barry, what was his name?
Very young.
Mm-hmm.
Barry who?
Young.
Young,
Yeah.
very young. And that's very young, right? Sorry. He was completely bald, but he had some hairs that would kind of flap around on top of his head. Anyway, so that became code for Barry Young, but he caught wind of this because I was actually getting aside with some of the students and just saying, listen, quit Columbia, leave Columbia, and come work for me. And I guess that didn't go over very well with Barry.
Well, the funniest thing about the classes back then were the fact that everything was experimental animation. I mean, it was a lot of scratching on film, that sort of thing. And then John comes in and it's like, oh, this guy is teaching you how to actually in between and what the little graphs mean and all this stuff. And so it's like, oh, a professional who actually knows this industry rather than just constantly independent experimental stuff. So it was pretty impressive, John, believe me.
His assignments were straight out of Taz-Mania. I remember doing the in-betweening. One of the assignments was Taz-Mania show. And it was really hard. It was like 13 drawings. Back in the Columbia days, you just used to drawing however.
Yeah.
13 drawings perfectly. And it was like, it took like hours and hours and hours to do.
Well, yeah, I kind of gathered after a while that a lot of the students weren't used to having to work hard or at least long hours or whatever. So I discovered later on, I somehow found on a online chat forum or something that they regarded Jon McClenahan as a ball buster. That's what So I always thought I was a nice guy, but I guess I wasn't. which,
You're a nice guy, John. Don't let anyone tell you
Oh, no, no.
differently.
It wasn't easy to make quota. I mean, there were times sleeping under the desk, just trying to make that minimum amount. You know,
Sunday night, you were always like trying, like working until like 2 o'clock in the morning because you had to have that footage finished up for it to count. So
What were the days? Monday was when they counted your week?
right, Monday they counted the week from the previous week.
And what was the minimum footage for like an animator or an assistant?
20 something feet.
yeah, I think it was like 20 something feet. And then the, you know, if the animators had sort of demonstrated that they could do more than that, we would raise their base wage,
Right.
which essentially just increased their quota. So
Right. So I mean, you were basically like, hey, I got to get the footage in because actually, to John's point, you were just adding up the footage, and that's what you got paid, unless
Right.
you didn't make your quota, and then you're like on the O side.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, look,
But how about if they gave you like a scene with several characters, it was the same.
yeah, it's the same rate. That's part of the unfair part about the footage system. But what we did was we would, you know, if there was a scene where, you know,
The crowd scene.
yeah, 20 guys riding bicycles or something in perspective, then you would have, you know, I'd try and make sure we gave you a free scene or something.
John,
So
didn't you rank the shots numerically on how
Yeah, as
difficult they
far as
were?
difficult.
Right, like this is a 3, so now you get a 1. You get like just a background, a held background to make up for the 20 bicycles in the other shot.
Right.
And going back to Columbia, if I'm not mistaken, Spike, you and I went to Columbia at the same time. And I remember seeing some of the stuff that you were doing there. I'll never forget seeing this one pencil test you did. My memory may not be right, but I think you did like a teddy bear with a machine gun, firing machine gun.
No, I didn't do that. I had the foxes.
The foxes, okay.
And they were, and the neat thing about that was that Barry wanted to use them to put together like some kind of a recruiting film, and so then he actually got me into like an internship at Senate. So that really helped me get my foot in the door.
That's right. Yeah, I just remember seeing your work and figuring, you know what, I better start focusing on the technical side of things if I'm ever going to make it in this business.
When I was at Columbia, I was at a weird time in Columbia because I was like in between Spike and Perry, like, you know, like, so we were never there all at the same time. But I remember Barry showing me Spike's animation when I first got to Columbia, and my reaction was, I can't do this. What I'm doing, like, I'll never do this. So it was really good stuff. And I was right.
Then when I got to StarToons and I was working with John, and John would go, hey, I'd be like, he would take your drawing and they would flip it over and then he would redraw it on the back side of it, and you'd go, oh yeah, I feel so foolish. But it was a great way to learn, because John was, I mean, there's so many talented people there, but John was the hardest worker there. You know what I mean? Like, he did the best stuff, and he still figured out a way to kind of keep the doors open. So, you know.
And those were fun years, and some of the most fun in animation I've ever had.
Agreed.
They were fun,
yeah,
weren't they?
It was really fun. And but the quotas sometimes would be hard, and you know, and the hours would be long. And John, you were really good at like keeping our morale high and talking us in off the ledge. And there, I remember many talks, and and I appreciate those like that, and that helped me too, like get ahead, keep, you know, like understand what this business is like, and you know, kind of how it ebbs and flows and all that kind of stuff. So I always appreciated that.
John did some great workshops after work hours too, on assisting cleanup, animation, posing, and I videotaped a few of them. I've been transferring some of the videos, but I'll tell you, one memory I have, and it's one of the most impressive things that I've ever seen John do, is that when we first got that huge load from Tom to do like 10 half hours of Animaniacs, whatever it was, and nobody knew how the heck we were going to get that done. And John basically sat us in the conference room, and it was all math. It's like, look, we're going to break this down into teams, and there's going to be like a director on each team, and we're going to stagger these episodes so we get one done every like month or so. And it was, I think it was his calmness and his confidence and, you know, really great leadership skills that got us all on board with that. Otherwise, we would have been running around like chickens without heads, trying to figure out how to get all this stuff done. So that was one of the great leadership speeches that I think John ever gave us, was how we were going to get through 10 half-hour episodes. So that was pretty cool, John.
Hey Ron, how would I help Kirk Tingblad join this? Does he have a link to this?
Yeah, I kept sending him the links on Facebook and on Facebook Messenger, and all he has to do is click on that Zoom link. It would be great to have him join us. All right, let's get to, is Griffin here? Has he finished eating dinner yet? No, I don't see him there. All right, let's go to Mike Feeney. Hi, Mike.
Hey there, everybody. Ron, you had my wife laughing in the other room when you were wondering if Griffin's done eating dinner yet. Anyway,
say hi to Lynn.
She says hi. For those who don't know me, I'm Mike Feeney. I think I started 97, 98, kind of towards the end of Animaniacs. And I started assisting. I think Macadamia Nut was the one that we were doing at the time, which that was a hard footage one. Every character moving, 3 characters on the scene. I was blessed to just be assisting at that time. I worked in a back room with a bunch of the new hires. It was me, Thor, you mentioned. Tyroo Jones is there, I think. Was that Tyroo's last name? Anyway, Tyroo.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and Vince Prost. And the slop sink. We were all shoved in that back room. But good memories of it all. The last thing I think I was promoted to animator towards the very end of Animaniacs, and I got to work on, I think it was 5 scenes of Good Feathers. So they were juicy. So I mean, I only got to work on 5, animate on 5 scenes, but it was great. I'm still, believe me, I tell the story like it's a much bigger thing. So really enjoyed it. Yeah. So it was good. It's still friends. Of course, see Dave, Phil, everybody around. So John, it really set my career. I've always been appreciative of being able to work there. And, you know, Dave taught me a lot. John Griffin, I worked really, you know, under for a lot of things. But John, I really remember when I wasn't directly on your team, but every once in a while you'd give me scenes, and a lot of the things I learned from John and Dave in a very structured way. What was great when I worked with you, it really opened me up, and I felt like I did a lot of different, I just approached animation different then, and I really enjoyed it. So yeah, it was great. And it's great to see everybody there. I know we haven't heard from Owens, but he danced at my wedding and stole the stage. And I mean, just a lot of great, just a lot of great memories all through those years. It made a big impact on me.
We were really happy to have you, Mike, and The one thing I remember about Mike and Dave Pryor both, and Dave was one of those guys that I almost felt like I had to promote him before he wanted to be promoted. But he was so talented, and I wanted to, just kind of put him at ease and let him just stop worrying about his work and just go ahead. And, that's probably my biggest problem with my work is I don't worry about it enough. And so it was always off model. And I would just try and convince people through, personality tricks with the animation and whatnot, and those famous gritted teeth. But I just wanted the other guys to kind of feel that same freedom, the ability to just take their ideas and run with them. And I always felt like Dave Pryor, you held back quite a bit, but finally you found your footing. And Mike Feeney, it was the same. You were just a really good, brilliant artist, and you had plenty of ability. And I always felt like you were being too worried about your stuff. So I always wanted you to just cut loose, baby.
Yeah. I felt it on a few scenes, and it was great fun once I got there. Yeah, awesome time.
You guys helped out on a short that we did, Little Go Beep.
Yes.
Yeah, that was great.
And that you guys did some great work on that. And I remember, we sent this stuff out, and then when it came back, obviously I was looking at all the drawings, and I remember looking at a scene that Dave had done.
Dave, yeah.
And I looked at it and I was like, these are Jon McClenahan's drawings. Yeah. They looked like you had, I guess you had spent some, like they were so close to John's work that I was like, I was mystified that you had actually made it to the mountaintop there. But
we were always trying to get more like John's work. It was like, that was as high as you could go. And it's why we draw all those clenched teeth even nowadays, right? It's like, they weren't in all the model sheets. I don't know how Warner's let all that stuff go through with all of our individual styles, and it still made it.
The other thing was we put ourselves into the shows.
Right, right. Right. Whenever there were incidental characters, we'd get a model sheet from Warner's and we'd throw it away and just put ourselves in there.
Plain pals, I believe you're all in.
Plain pals, yeah.
Sitting in the plane.
I remember you sometimes would give me model sheets to redraw. There's a couple of times. Yeah, there was a Sam Donaldson model sheet that came through.
Okay.
What was that episode? It was a Sam Donaldson was the
broadcast newscaster.
Yeah.
That one we managed to butcher that one at our end.
Yeah, that went from Slam Fondleson to Dan Anchorman, right? Something like that.
we had legal problems with what was it, Slam Fondlesome? I don't think.
You had more than just model issues on that one.
No, yeah.
All right, awesome. Who's next? Phil Gullett, step up to the mic. Where are you, buddy?
Before I forget, when you mentioned John's workshop that he would do after hours, there is a grid or chart that John handed out to all of us. I think about it. I still tell people about it this day. I can't find my copy. It was the one along the top were eyes, and along down the side were mouths. Your eyes are what you wanted people to think, the character wanted people to think he was feeling, and your mouth betrays what you really what he was really feeling. And by combining the two, you could express almost any. John, is it ringing a bell?
Oh yeah. It was a fun exercise to give students, but yeah, I mean, it was like I thought it was important for people to sort of have a better handle on how to express emotion. And I had read an essay in college about the 3 cell layers in a developing embryo or something. And it was like there was one.
I thought you meant there's 3 cell layers and a camera stand.
But yeah, right. Okay. Yeah. See, there you go. It all relates. But the middle layer would become the digestive system of the developing creature, and then the middle layer would become the musculature, and then the outer layer became the nervous system. And then I don't know why, I just thought, well, okay, so there's the one layer that, you know, becomes the nervous system and the brain and all this stuff. And the eye is part of the nervous system. So I just thought, well, okay, so the eyes are connected to the brain. So we can use that as an idea that the eyes are going to convey what you're thinking. And then, you know, what we eat is what makes us feel good, or like I just, yeah, I just had a ham sandwich that I should not have had. So right now I'm not feeling as good as I should. But anyway, it affects our feeling. And so, you know, the idea was, okay, and the mouth is part of the digestive system. So the mouth can be used to portray what the person is actually feeling inside. And so that was my theory. And I don't think it's actually scientifically sustainable, but
it's artistically useful.
It was useful, I thought, yeah.
So Phil, you don't have that anymore, that chart?
I have my drawer full of all my StarToons stuff. And the last time I went through it, I remember going, oh yeah, I should keep an eye out for that chart. I'm sure I did. There was never a day when I said, I don't need this anymore. Out it goes. Yeah. I just have it somewhere. Can't find it. I'd love to have another copy if that's possible.
Bill, I actually just thought about it the other day, about needing it or using it. I know exactly which one you're talking about.
Yeah, I still tell people about that chart. It was, yeah. It's not like I don't know how to draw an expression. I do, but that one was really, it was insightful. There we go. Human condition and all that.
I would love a copy of that one. Yeah.
Well, look, I still have copies, but basically it was a worksheet. So it had 16 blank faces on it. And you could make 16 expressions using 4 different sets of eyes and 4 different sets of mouths.
There we go.
And that was the idea. And so I have that, if that would be useful.
That sounds like it.
It's 16 blank faces. But so you have to talk them through it. But what I thought was it would be exciting for the students to draw these different, 4 different kinds of eyes on each row, and then 4 different four of the same mouths on the columns, and then mix and match them and see the different expressions.
Yes.
And I did see that when I would teach it. It's like kids would draw it themselves, and they'd look at it and they'd say, "Wow, that's cool." So and to me, enthusiasm for your work is just as important as the talent for your work, because I met a lot of talented artists that just didn't have any enthusiasm for it. But
that was one of the real things I remember was when I was going to bed, I was excited about waking up in the morning because of what we were working on. Like that's how intense it was.
Wow. Well, I'll just say at this point, we did a lot of nice cartoons, but I always felt that the greatest thing that StarToons ever put out was the people that worked there.
Yeah.
Wow. Bill, what year did you join StarToons?
May of 95. I came from a industrial video gulag job to StarToons. I only had to keep sending them stuff for 4 years until John just hired me to shut me up.
Is that true?
Yeah, Dave didn't. Your brother Dave didn't want to hire me, and eventually you just said, "Can we just hire the guy?"
He really wants to.
I remember Dave didn't like your attitude, but I didn't like your attitude either. But you were really good and you were really funny, and really talented. I remember you showed me some space pirate cartoon.
Yeah, that thing.
It was awesome.
Yeah, well, for what we had to work with at the time, yeah, it was. It came out right.
It was very inventive, very creative, very funny.
And I was the guy that came in, and you said you could paint backgrounds digitally.
Yeah,
that's what I did at my old gig.
Yeah,
so that was I slid into that. That became my thing.
That blew my mind. The idea of that we could have somebody painting backgrounds digitally. Sorry, you're talking to an old man here.
We are all old men, even the ladies.
That also brings up like Utam and
yeah. Oh gosh. So you don't want to hear about Utam.
I was going to say, do you really want to go there?
Yeah, I don't think so. There's John Griffin. You need to talk, John.
America's sweetheart, John Griffin.
Oh, America and India, apparently. Yeah. That was something that we did. I'm sorry, I kind of missed out a little bit because I had a dinner appointment, but that was something that we talked about at the slot machine company just recently. We did a presentation, and a lot of it was me explaining to even my fellow StarTooners like what went on with India and sort of how I fit into that, and that was. Boy, what a story that one is. I just got back from India actually last week. Yeah, I still go for my current job. We have a studio at, you remember that guy Prince, right? Is he on the call? No, he's not. But he I hired him as like the art lead of that India studio. So he's still there after like 8 years or so. And a couple of the other guys from Heart Academy, which was the place that I guess, did we buy them or they bought us? One of the two.
They bought us.
They bought us. And yeah, a lot of those guys came over with Prince. So it's like old school reunion everywhere I go.
Wow. Well, when did you start with StarToons?
Boy, I remember I was working, I was the animation director at Cinet before that. And we were doing some, like, I think Tom Sennett wanted me to do, like, he's trying to get me in there because he knew Sennett was folding. And I started, I think it was like 95, 96, whenever we started Macadamia Nut.
Right.
That was my first StarToons animations with some of those
Animaniacs season four, we had to hire a lot of new people that year. I think it was 96.
So yeah, early 96 must have been. And then from there, I remember there was that whole thing where I had applied to Disney. You guys were trying to get me on board, and Kevin, I was going to try to be one of your shipmates down in Orlando, and I got hired to work on Mulan. And like literally the week after they said I was hired, they said, "Well, we can't. We actually they put in a hiring freeze, so we can't hire you for like a year." I was like, "All right, screw that. I'm going to StarToons." So it was you or Disney?
Yeah. I hear that a lot.
I think I got the better choice though.
John, I gotta say, at the gig where I've been for a year, they had doing storyboards, which are basically sequential drawings, but that ain't storyboarding. And the stuff that I learned at StarToons, I'm now doing at the pinball place, and things like looking at a shot and knowing, okay, this is 3 seconds, or then 6 frame dissolve, and drawing the camera direction in with red, and then across dissolve, and where the camera zooms and stuff like that. And when I show people storyboards drawn on paper, mind you, and with where you actually figure out how long it's going to be and how long it's going to take and what the camera is going to do and stuff. And when people saw how much information and how useful storyboards could actually be, many pants were shat. Still, the stuff is still relevant, still useful, and still a revelation to normal people who aren't used to seeing stuff like that.
Yeah, I've been surprised to find that now what we used to do called slugging the storyboard. We were putting in the action time between dialogue, and that was slugging. And they don't do that anymore. It's all just done like
And George Kokoven would even slug the wall. He was that.
Oh, yeah. But that was George.
There's no danger to it anymore. It's all like happens through animatics, you know, and these incredible story reels, digital story reels. I remember, John, you taught me, I was watching you slug boards. We were literally sitting on the floor. I don't know why, but we didn't have any furniture maybe, but you were slugging a Tiny Toons board, and you taught me base 16 and how to do direction. And I'll never forget, you gave me an episode of Taz-Mania to slug over the weekend. Mums and Taz, I think it was, and Taz and the Pterodactyl. Those were the first I did. Taz and the Pterodactyl, because it was all timing. There was no dialogue in it at all. And I remember going home and just struggling with it, just really second guessing myself and being really nervous about it, and coming in Monday and saying, oh, I got it all done, you know, check my work. And you're like, I'm not checking your work. That's why I had you do it. And I'm telling you, I was never so nervous about, you know, from that stage on. You have to go through all the animation and everything. You're basically waiting for the work print to come back from Korea or Philippines, wherever we were sending it, to see how your timing worked out. So that was a nail biter for me the first time I had to slug a board.
Well, I because you were nervous about it, I gave it to Spike to do. And I knew Spike would make it work.
Well, there you go. All right, cool. Griffin, are you still there? Are you done? You got anything more to say?
Oh, I have tons more to say.
All right. Well, we don't have time for tons. We're gonna
Exactly.
move on.
I'm waiting to get cut off here. Like the cane's going to come.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll come back to you if you have anything else. How about Kevin Barber? You're out there, right? Say hi, Kevin.
Hello, everybody. How are you? So I was at StarToons from about 94 to 95. I was a Columbia student and heard about the mythical StarToons out in Homewood, Shangri-La. So I cold called them one day. As you guys were saying before, the Columbia program was kind of, you had to really be a self-starter because it was very experimental. And I wanted to do more commercial type stuff like you guys were doing at StarToons and Disney was doing and all that. So I cold called one day on the hopes that I could maybe get an interview, talked to your brother Dave, and Dave was gracious enough to have me come in and show my portfolio. So I showed it to him.
Wait a minute, my brother Dave was gracious?
At that moment, yes. So I came in and you took a look at my portfolio, and you guys were up for me interning, which was I'm still very thankful for. You guys gave me my career. You know, you kickstarted it, which is I'm indebted to you forever. And you guys were also really nice. Ron, Chris, John, all of you guys were so giving with your, you know, I was a young, scared, just starting out kid still in school, and you guys took the time to show me the ropes, and I would follow Ron around on Oxbury shoots, and you know, just a great time and a way better education than I got at Columbia. So very thankful for that and very appreciative. But so when I was there, it was kind of a in between the big ramp ups that you guys have had, the pre-ramp up and then the post-ramp up. So I was there for the kind of leaner years, where we did a lot of commercials. We were doing the Fat Cats production, cleaning that up and getting that all ready for the What a Cartoon. Did a lot of ADA stuff, I remember. And I assisted most of the time. And at the very end, I started animating, which I was also thankful for. That was really fun. And then just got an offer that I couldn't refuse, but that I never would have had I not had the StarToons training. So again, thank you. Went to Disney afterwards and to the Orlando office, and worked with a few people that are on this call, like Jason and Tammy Daniel was there eventually too, who went to StarToons, which is really funny how everything is like 2 degrees of separation in this industry, that somebody always knows somebody that went through StarToons or Warner Brothers or what have you. So, but again, yeah, very thankful. Great times, really fun times.
It was great having you, Kevin. I just remember he was another one of these talented young men that I just thought, how do they keep coming out of the woodwork?
Thank you, John.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Thank you, Kevin. How about Jason? Jason Pell. You came on at
thanks
about the
for
same
both.
time as Kevin, right? I
Yeah,
think.
yeah, we had a lot of overlap. Thanks for the invite, Ron, and great seeing everyone. I went to school. I grew up in Connecticut. I went to school, studied illustration. I always wanted to draw product, characters on product, until my eyes were sort of opened up to the magic of animation. I was doing a lot of work in New York City, and all of those companies ended up moving out to California without me, of course. So I started submitting portfolios, and I reached out to StarToons, and I think Dave, I had spoken with Dave, your brother, and there was some back and forth, and I had zero experience in the animation field. So it was sort of like, well, why don't you give us a chance and we'll give you a chance. So
Yeah, you were perfect.
Yeah, so it worked out great. I ended up, so I, sort of moved to, I think it was Tinley Park, and I ended up staying in Dave's attic for a while. Do you remember that?
Are you talking about Dave Pryor?
No, your brother, Dave McClenahan.
Dave McClenahan, you stayed in his attic? He didn't tell me that part.
He was locked in there?
Yeah, I felt like Harry Potter under the stairs.
Sounds like Misery.
Yeah. I sort of came in like on a trial basis. So I was very anxious to be out of the trial phase so I could move into my own place.
Yeah, there you go.
So so then I ended up taking the Milan bus to Orlando, and I've been doing a lot of Disney since. But again, awesome start to my career and the field, and what better way to start in the animation field than doing stuff for Warner Brothers?
Yeah, no kidding.
Yep. So thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Jay. How about Mike Owens? Are you there? Are you mic'd, Mike? You unmute yourself. Can you dance for us?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yes. Wait.
Where's Wendy?
Wendy's
Come
right
on.
on the camera. There's her hand.
Come on, Wendy, say hi.
Hi.
Okay, is that all we're gonna get? Okay.
There you go.
Hi, Wendy.
Hey, Wendy.
So when did you join StarToons, Mike?
It was also that macadamia nut time. It was like my last semester at Columbia. When I was at Senate working with Jon, the buzz came that you guys were hiring before you guys told anyone publicly, I think. So I got in there under the wire. I had done some tests. I had a teacher who was working on a Pinky and the Brain game. So I actually had Pinky and the Brain on my reel when I came in. So I think it was sort of, good enough. Come on in. No, it was good. It was working on paper, doing the exact thing I had started trying to do 8 years before, coming from Pennsylvania, to be sitting there doing it on a legit show as the first job after my internship with Senate. It's pretty solid. So, and it's been that survival thing you were talking about is absolutely how my whole career. I've yet to move to LA, and I've only worked in entertainment animation.
Good for you.
And Wendy and I now have a company, Lomo Studio. We're doing a preschool show for Apple right now. So we're figuring out a way to survive and like you said, find the people around you that are good. And you don't know exactly how you're gonna do it, but you figure it out with enough, like you said, enough enthusiasm and enough people who are good at spreadsheets. You can kind of do anything. We had a whole crew of storyboard artists here in St. Paul. All were comic book artists for my show. So we were able to hire all local people who had never done it before, train them on the spot, and promote people up as directors. It was kind of that same kind of build it, try it, hope for the best, don't be an asshole, and it should probably work.
Very cool. Very cool. Yeah, I mean, Mike was one of those bright stars of his generation, and we were excited to be able to get him. And I remember, Mike, I really kind of threw you in the deep end. We ended up sending you to India.
I volunteered, to be fair. Like everyone else was hesitating. I was like, I'll do it.
Yeah, but still, it was like your experience level was pretty. You were still pretty fresh by that time.
Yeah.
And but I just thought, well, he'll learn some things, and
I learned more than I could possibly imagine in those. Like in India, I learned that experience. Everything I thought I knew, I ran out in the first 2 weeks teaching everybody. So Wendy and I had to write a book on all the basic principles and come up with exercises. It was great.
Awesome.
I put my own limited knowledge to the test.
Awesome.
Mike, I remember some of my favorite storyboards. I still have some Xeroxes of them from Histeria that you did, and I really loved how those things looked. So, yeah, I remember working with you quite a bit, and just great stuff. And it's good to see. I see you're wearing one of Ty's sweatshirts too.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And Ty's here in spirit.
Yeah, that's why I wore it.
Beanie, where'd you get that tuna sandwich poster? I want one.
You know what? There's two things here. I've had them on. I don't know. Phil did them a long time ago. Here's the other one that maybe you weren't seeing. I know I'm getting reflection there. Yeah, here's the other one. I'm gonna sit on the floor right now with all the characters. Yeah, these are all Phil's.
Wow.
Yeah, I had, but there were two shorts there was Fat Cats that was written by Spike and Tony, right? Fat Cats that John directed that made it to a cartoon, and then Phil and Dave did Tuna Sandwich.
Right. We never sold Tuna Sandwich.
Not that we didn't want to.
Not that we didn't want to. Yeah,
we didn't refuse. Please sell us your silly cartoon.
Enjoyed that one a lot.
It was unbelievable that we got to actually make our own idea, and a company paid us to do our own idea. And
they made a puppet.
Yeah, made a puppet. I mean, and it's because of Phil Gullett that I love working with animation and music as much as I do, and got me to
Dave
sing.
wrote the lyrics to the Tuna
Yep.
Sandwich theme song, and he actually
Mhm.
sang it to me, and we plunked it out on the piano when we recorded it.
That's right.
And
Just like Rogers and David Hamlish.
It continues its legendary status on YouTube, so you can't see Tuna Sandwich on YouTube. My students, they'll go crazy over it. So who else is here? Kurt Canellis, right?
Tuna Sandwich is still demonetized to this day.
I think I remember fixing one of Kurt's Tuna Sandwich drawings in the early days. I think that's right when you started working on.
Oh yeah, you beat me up over that pretty bad.
It's not cool.
That stuck with me, Dave. Thanks. I was very late era StarToons. I think I started January of '99. I came in after about 2 years of doing assisting and cleanup on things like Anastasia. So I came in with this very, very exacting technical training. And remember when I tried to animate and McClenahan looked at my scene, he said that he needed to break my wrists because I was so overly rigid. And just quickly, two things. My very first scene was from John Griffin posed a character called Toast from Histeria. Skateboarder, hold frame, everything but the arms and his head, and he went, oh. And that was my first scene. And then my second scene was a buffalo stampede. And it killed me. It destroyed me. All the Xeroxing and
oh gosh.
So that was I feel like that was a trial by fire.
Yeah.
Kurt
I was
and
a
me,
little in the hole that week.
Kurt, we were always sweating footage together, you and I. I would just peek over. I'm like, "How you doing, Kurt?" He's like, "Ugh." But the thing that helped us, remember when we discovered just the heavier, like kind of like the horse's leg that John you'd always use. It was so enlightening when we changed to a much softer pencil. Yep. It did like footage all of a sudden came. Like I'm like, thank
it was
goodness.
revelatory. Oh my god, all these years.
Kurt, that Buffalo Stampede, that was from Wild West? From the Hysteria Wild
They
West
came
one?
through a talk show set.
Yeah, that was Wild West.
Okay.
Yeah, misinformation was
Misinformation.
interviewing someone. Yeah.
So everyone
That's
else got
right,
all the
that's right.
talking head scenes, and then Kurt got the buffalo right at the end.
Yeah.
Bill Straitman scene probably. And
Yeah, end of the week wondering, do I want to do this?
But that wasn't mine, right? I gave you toast, and Dave probably gave you a Buffalo Stampede. I'm just saying.
I think I think it was Dave, because those buffalo made me think of all the cows that show up at the end of Tuna Sandwich. I think that was a Dave scene.
a lot of time at the Xerox machine that day.
Yes, many lessons were learned.
There's a lot of flapping udders.
Hey, I just want to interrupt. I see that Leslie has to leave us. Leslie, have you left us already?
Yeah, I think she's gone. I was gonna try to get to her. Oh,
That didn't sound like Leslie at all.
she has a little one to feed. She's a mom, so moms, duties trump virtual reunions, I guess.
And is she in? I was really hoping to hear from her because I like to hear English accents,
Yeah.
But she, she was another one of those interesting experiments. She got sent over from England and stayed somewhere, I think in East Hazelcrest or something. And
she lived with us for a little bit.
Yeah, she lived with us for a while, and anyway, I think is she in England now?
No, she's in Canada. She's
Okay.
Vice President of Development.
Of course, yeah. Well, there you go.
For what company?
Canada.
Yeah,
Yeah, Canada. All of Canada. She works for.
Have we heard from Noel yet? Have we heard?
Yeah, Noel, can you talk quietly?
Noel can't talk quietly.
I'm Noel, for those of you that don't know me. I was there, I want to say it was 98, sometime in 98, I think. The first project I worked on, I believe, was the first What's on Your Mind.
Wow.
I think that was the first one I did. And then Hysteria, when that came in. Because you guys were finishing up the very last episode of Pinky and the Brain, where it was kind of like a Sorcerer's Apprentice thing when I got started. And I wasn't able to work on that one yet. So, I really want to thank, both Johns. You guys, I learned so much from the two of you. I probably spent more time in John Griffin's office than my own desk.
Oh, I'm the other John. Oh,
what's that?
I said I'm the other John. I didn't know you were talking about me.
Yeah, both of you.
I was wondering the same thing, John. So
yeah.
I just remember, yes, you did spend a lot of time in my desk, and it was good stuff. I just remember giving you rides home a lot.
Yeah, I had a very long commute because I was living right by Midway Airport, so I'd have to take the Orange Line all the way up into the city and then take the Metro train all the way down. But I'd actually started off as an intern at Jim Peoples' studio in Minneapolis, and he kind of groomed me and was like, "Oh, you got to go to Chicago and go work for John." And so then I got there, went to Columbia, and I ended up calling up, Jon McClenahan and saying, "Hey, I really want to come work for you." And took the train down there, showed him my demo reel, and he made all the comments. And then I went home and I just, did everything I could to fix everything and bring it back down to him. And then I just bugged him all the time, like, "Give me a job, give me a job, give me a job." And at one point he finally took pity on me and brought me in. And but yeah, I mean, I owe everything to all three of you, Jim and both Johns, because when I left and I went down to Atlanta and I went into an interview with Cartoon Network, and it was with Sam Register, and he was heading up this new website for Cartoon Network, and then this other woman, her name was Paula, and he's trying to pitch this thing to me like, "Can you do this stuff? We need an animator for our website." and Paula opens up my little folder I had my resume in it, and there was the letter recommendation from Jon with StarToons logo, and she just stopped and was like, "Wait, you've worked for Jon McClenahan?" I was like, "Yeah," and she just stopped Sam at that point and just said, "He can do the job. He's got it." And they just hired me on the spot based on his letter of recommendation.
Wow.
And then I got my next
Never
job.
worked- never worked for me.
So it was all. So no one ever knew if I could actually do the work. They just hired me based on someone else thought I could. So,
wow.
but yeah, I have no idea who would play me in a Netflix special though. I'm sorry, Ron.
Jon, this is like This Is Your Life, isn't it? Like we're gonna cart your second grade teacher out any moment.
Oh, don't ruin the surprise, Perry.
Did Adrian speak?
Yeah, Adrian, we got one more. We got Adrian, my right-hand man in the bar.
I was off here, wasn't it, between you and Phil up in the bar. Unfortunately, you guys emptied the bar by the time I got there. Yeah, I came in, I believe it was 99. I was a, what do you call it? Intern from Columbia. So I was there, gosh. I think I just missed Animaniacs, but I got there for Hysteria, all of what we did for Hysteria. I think we did a couple of the Dudleys. What was it? And then I was there all the way up until the end, the unfortunate end.
Yeah, it was sad, wasn't it, Adrian?
It was. I mean, seeing the studio emptied out, seeing all the talent, wondering where they're going to head to next, all that good stuff.
Yeah. Everybody, including me.
Then after that, I went over to Calabash for a while, doing the same stuff. Once your daughter Heather had got taken off to work with the mouse, I took over her spot at StarToons up at the color style, cell coloring and all that stuff, which carried me over to Calabash because they needed somebody to do the scanning, inking, painting, all that stuff. So it was a great foot in the door, just like everybody else. Like I know I believe it was like Dave and Kurt and Griff all went to Calabash before they went to WMS and all that. So I stayed with Calabash for a few years. Never got full time, but that's kind of where I had to make my own life decision of, do I want to keep doing? I see all these other immensely talented people, and they were kind of struggling to get a full-time gig, and that was most important to me to get things going. So it was between Feeney putting the bug in my ear back in the day, and my brother also trying to do it. I became a fireman paramedic.
Wow.
In about 2005, 2006. And I've been doing that since.
Wow. Good.
Who do you work for, Adrian?
Orland Park. I started out with Chicago
yeah,
for a
awesome.
year and a half, and then came over to here, and I've been here since. So now I'm an official fire engine driver.
Oh man, driving an engine.
That's
pretty
rad.
Cool.
Your nephew's doing that, Andy Turner, right?
Yeah, my nephew's a fireman.
Where at?
In Chicago.
No.
He drives the,
Well, he's a fireman and a policeman, so he's.
but he does drive a fire engine.
Yeah, we've a couple of the ones who like do both. The one that retired went to go do training for like the SWAT teams, that kind of stuff. I just do straight up fire stuff, the driving and all that. Not too many fires. There's a lot of responsibility, more so here in Orland than.
And you're putting out the fires, right?
Not a fire delivery man.
Adrian, so you run the pumps too? Are you an engineer?
Yeah, as the engineer, do the driving. The way we do it is we have ambulances and fire engines or fire trucks at all the stations. We're all 99.5 are licensed paramedics, so we can all do the job. We've all 5 of us to respond to every call in case it turns into hey, grandma fell down, but actually her heart stopped. So,
gosh.
It happens more often than not, but more often than you'd expect. So it's I ran into a Kurt Canellis at C2E2 the other day, and it was a flash from the past. I traveled through that tunnel that you see when like somebody's flashing back to when they were a kid. Like I remember in was it Despicable Me, where Gru remembers something from his childhood and he zaps back to childhood. I'm like, oh, I remember you. You're like a personal celebrity, and you're with all those guys that are immensely talented that I never got to. But
two decades between the last time we saw each other.
Yeah, I came across, I think you and Dave at like a Wizard World. It was like the next year after StarToons closed, and that was like it. I think I saw Dave at like San Diego Comic-Con. Having a table there.
It's been nice seeing you guys in pieces at San Diego over the years, just to reunite even briefly.
Or in one piece.
Yep.
We'd always run into Adrian. Like there was one year where Ron and I were like eating dinner, and Adrian just like happened to like show up at the table.
Oh, we have Ron treated me to a meal over at what was it, Joe's Crab Shack in San Diego. Here we were. He insisted we not room together. However, we would hang out to have dinner.
That was in your best interest.
Probably.
Adrian, I got to tell you, I put you in a game. You used to do this thing where your signature move would be a stoic thumbs up and a quiet nod.
Yes.
We have a Yeti in a game I was working on it, and I'm at the end of the shot. He's left on camera, and he looked at the camera and he does the quiet thumbs up. That's how I boarded it. Bob Rossetto made it more of a wacky take and then eyebrows and like that. But yeah, if look for yourself.
And that I need to get it or buy it or
Foo Fighters, and then go play Seattle bonus. That is Yeti is doing your move.
It's good to know that somebody could leave StarToons and get a real job. Including my son Dave, who I don't even know if he was of legal age to work when you were there. Were you?
I don't think so.
No.
No. I would go to the office all the time. I remember just like hanging out there. I don't know if you guys enjoyed me or not, but I definitely enjoyed being there whenever I could.
That was pretty much
Dave had like
a full-time gig.
Star Wars toys all over his office.
Still does.
Still does.
Yeah.
There you go. Okay, good to know, Heather.
I also remember coming over one time and you guys had a PlayStation set up, and it was like we didn't have PlayStation at the time, but you guys had Vigilante 8, I think, and you guys would play it every once in a while. And so I was just like, this is the best game ever.
We played video games and occasionally worked.
I remember going to someone's apartment playing James Bond at lunchtime.
James Bond, Twisted Metal.
That was Phil's probably.
I was the guy who lived a block from work, so yeah. It happened.
That was I guess some sort of ritual that we had for that. Like there was a 2-year period. Every day we would crowd into at 5 o'clock, whistle blow. We crowd into Pryor's office. He had a small television, and we would all be we'd all be playing GoldenEye or Perfect Dark or something like that. Quake. We all got quite good, I think, at one point.
Yeah, good times.
Let's hear from Joanna Davidovich.
I was gonna bring Joanna in just to see if she had any questions for us.
Questions? I mean, she was our audience then.
I'm just the one that you all inspired to do. I was the one watching the StarToons cartoons and be like, wait a minute, this looks like this, and I would go back and watch Tiny Toons again, like this looks like, and the hands and the teeth and and then Dudley the dinosaur, like I see a thread here, and it started to get me thinking about style and how things were drawn, and StarToons stuff just was so fun to watch in any show that I don't know, anytime I would go on in life and meet somebody who worked for StarToons, like I think Dave you're the first StarToons person I met in the wild at Comic-Con one year. And I think you mentioned StarToons. I was like, what? I was like, tell me everything. And then my friend Noel, I'm ashamed, I still have his file of StarToons notes that I will get back to you someday. I really promise. I'm sorry, what was the question? I was just gushing. I wish I had a chance to see the magic that happened, because to me, you guys are like the next Termite Terrace. Like there's like a magical thing that happened when you guys all got together and were making cartoons. And I don't think enough people know about StarToons. I don't think it's mentioned in any animation history course, but I think StarToons is part of the American animation landscape and should be talked about.
Of course, I feel that way, but
yeah,
there are a lot of people on Twitter specifically that are. I think maybe John. Do you know a guy named John Hardell?
No.
See, well, he knows all about us. There's several folks that's all they do is they post like frame grabs of episodes we worked on and go, that's a McClenahan scene. That's a Griffin scene. That's a. I'm like, how do you guys know? Like that's so. There are people that are watching.
I had seen some of that. Like I found on YouTube, there's like people who have made demo reels for me, and it's like, how did they know I did that stuff? So I was always surprised and embarrassed to know that my stuff stuck out that much. I mean, I know that the aim of doing this stuff for national audiences, like through Warner Brothers, was that it should all look like it's done by one person. And so I always felt if they could pinpoint my stuff, I had failed in making it look like everybody else's stuff.
I've seen one for myself, and I know Jeff Sergey has one. So I mean, like people are picking out these styles within the StarToons world.
Yeah, and you had a style. You had a style too, Spike. And I wish I could emulate that too, especially when I work on things like Space Jam.
I always thought Spike had the most classic of the styles. Like you could just capture Warner Brothers perfectly. And
yeah, I agree.
Yeah, as a young kid coming into StarToons, it's like, wow, this guy's already like one of the original Warner Brothers animators.
I know. It was actually like working on Little Go Beep was a bit of a seminar for me. So thanks again, Spike, for the opportunity to do that, because that was really awesome. That little chunk of time.
It was.
Yeah, I mean, you guys did a pretty good chunk of that stuff. And then also other people who work at StarToons did a lot of the rest of it. So I know that I feel like sometimes it's almost credited as a StarToons project, and there's a lot of StarToons DNA in it, I guess.
I mean, there a lot of StarToons people, you know, when a bunch of us moved west, we did work together all the time and stuck together. Yeah. And I remember, you know, sometime like in there 95, 96, in the pegboard, which is at the Animation Guild's newsletter, they would have a thing in there that would talk about different shows that were going on around town and who was looking for work and who needed help. And a couple of times they would say, if it was something all of us were working on, it would be like, they would say, that's a Chicago mob show. Don't even try.
I heard that you guys got called.
And it was like, don't try. They only work together. They don't, and they're real picky. So.
Wow.
I'll also say, working with StarToons, when you migrate out to the Great West, I mean, it's not hard to excel because there's a work ethic that we were ingrained with. Partly being Midwesterners, I think, is just ingrained in us, but also working in StarToons and all the lessons and all the ways to think about how to get this job done. I mean, I remember I still use the thing you used to say, John, about how there was a million wrong ways to do something and 5 right ways. And if you pick one of the 5 right ways, you can keep going, you know? I use that almost every week. I'm telling someone to keep moving, you know, keep it, you know, don't get hung up on little details and things, you know, the bigger picture about how to produce and create animation. And that one bit of advice has served me well. But
and
yeah,
I
no.
remember that whole thing when we did come out here was like, we knew how to do a lot of different things because you had to. And, you know, the West Coast sort of thing was like, well, I do this and I do this. And I think that also really gave us a leg up because we kind of could do a lot of different things.
Yeah, and if I could add to that, and I think this is also a StarToons thing, we knew how to do a lot of things when we got here. And if we didn't know how to do it, we didn't freak out and we figured it out.
Right.
And I feel like I still, when I'm doing stuff, do that. Like, all right, I don't know how to do this. Let's figure it out. And not freak out, you know, like, and that's purely StarToons. And, you know,
I remember someone mentioned Sam Register earlier, and, you know, for a while there, he was all our bosses. And I mean, he would lean on us, I think, to do stuff. I mean, there was a time when, you know, I was heading something, Spike was heading something, Tony was heading, we were all like, and so we really were a mob at Warner Brothers because, I mean, then Jeff, I mean, we all had key roles at certain times in that studio that really was keeping it up, you know, when things were slow or low.
And just like James said, there was this stuff that everyone knew we were doing, but we were also doing a whole bunch of other stuff that no one knew we were, you know, like we were all pitching in on stuff we didn't even technically work on. Like we were always doing.
Like fixing sheets if the sheet timer didn't get something right, or, you know, like the average person who just was raised in the you know, LA landscape of animation, every job is kind of segregated. But having worked at Warner Brothers, I mean, StarToons, you know, we all had to do a little bit of something that overlapped into other things. And if we didn't, we were working right next to somebody who was doing some other function that, you know, was educating us about, you know, production and animation. So it really has helped.
Well, this goes along with what Tucker was saying. The one line that John shot out that I use all the time is there's 10,000 bad drawings in you, and the more you draw, the quicker you get them out of your system. I can't even tell you the amount of times. I probably said it last week again. It's my one piece and I credit you every single time, John. I go, well, my boss, Jon McClenahan at StarToons, you get the full credit on that.
I remember going to John one time and, you know, after animating for a while, and I'm like, you know, John, should I be handling this different? I'm going, you know, I have the main pose. I'm antiquing. I'm doing the extreme drawing. I'm settling. It's like, should I be looking at it differently? And John just looked at me and he goes, is it working? And I'm like, well, yeah. He goes, well, then that's what you do. So it was a simple, like, just simple advice like that went a long way.
StarToons was a tiny bit of magic dusted on Illinois that I don't think they knew how lucky they were when they had it. And it's you know, it's a time in animation history that will never repeat itself, especially now. The more time goes on, I don't know, like everybody else, I know that obviously a lot of the guys have ended up at Warner Brothers long term and everything. I've jumped all around the business. I've worked at almost every single studio to some degree or another, but now it's just work as far as I see. I mean, there's no love, there's no casualness. It's not like a family atmosphere. It really was something special. And I don't even know how anyone would attempt to try it nowadays. I don't think it would ever have a chance of succeeding.
I agree, Perry. I wish there would be a way to repeat it. And if it can be repeated, I'll be happy for that person. But yeah, I think the cool thing was that we were able to have fun and stay out of jail and more or less make a living. And I was just always happy for that. the main reason was because of these people, and this lady here is the one that I was doing it all for. I didn't want to ever have to, I didn't ever want to have to say, honey, we can't eat tonight. So, and she was really our first employee, and I think she was by far the most underpaid.
Well, yeah, that's true.
I don't know. I think you made a few bucks a few times. But she also just took care of all the people I didn't want to talk to, which was just so awesome.
Yes,
you,
I like
honey.
being your cotton wool.
It was Chris's abandoned 6-inch Subway sandwich that was the inception of tuna sandwich, believe it.
Yes, sorry about that. Yeah.
Hey, John, do you mind me telling the story about this one time a client came to visit us and you didn't want to see him, and so you picked an alternative place to work that day?
Well, it wasn't a client. It was a provider.
A provider?
It was Take Kim. Remember, it was that.
Oh, Take Him. Oh, my God. Take him out and shoot him.
Yeah, Take Kim.
He was not a client.
He was the head of a Korean studio that was doing our ink and paint, and I think we had him do some in-betweening too, and it was terrible. And I was so upset with his work. And then I thought, and I think I was going to cut him off. We were going to get another studio to do the ink and paint. And he, oh no, I'm going to come out and I'm going to fly out and see you. And he flew out from Korea to see us in Homewood. And I really didn't want to see him. So I hid in the closet all day.
It was a big closet.
It wasn't a big closet. John was big, and he's hunched over on his animation desk. You'd open up this door, and there'd be John working still in this closet. It was.
And I'd be saying, "Is he gone yet?"
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Being like a good salesman or a good schmoozer was not my forte. And so I had to rely on people like Chris and others who could kind of work with people, because I was terrible.
You needed buffers for TLC, right?
Oh, God.
Once the McGee and Me people started giving you crap about the McGee lip.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It was like, okay, yeah, it was so, yeah, you put some good buffers in there. I didn't mind working with them, and we worked on, John did what, the crippled lamb?
Yeah, I caught the hot potato the last time it was tossed.
That's right. Thank you, John. I owe you for that.
What was our nickname for the Crippled Lamb project? John Griffin for the win.
Come on, John.
What was it?
Thy hobbled sheep.
Oh, it had a couple of nicknames. Not all of them I want to repeat. So
I'll never forget when we finished that, and we had a big dinner to celebrate finishing that project.
Oh, at that Mexican restaurant, right?
Yeah, and somebody actually brought a leg of lamb with a broken bone in it. Isn't that right?
I think yeah, with like mint jelly.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got through that though. I think those producers
terrible,
wound up
yeah,
on the wrong side of the law, right?
Yeah, we would not have gotten through it without you, John Griffin.
Well,
does anybody remember when there were two projects at the same time? One of them was called Rex Coco, and the other one was called Coco Rex, which was a Pebbles, like a
yeah, one was chocolate pebbles. Cocoa Pebbles was Rex Coco, which I had to go out to LA to US Animation to do the compositing. That was one of the first things that we did in digital compositing, Fruity and Cocoa Pebbles. And what was the guy's name who brought us Rex Coco?
All right, Rex Coco. That was a clown or something, right?
Clown detective.
Detective clown, yeah.
Right.
Got into him years later.
Yeah, he had some kind of a theater company or something in Chicago, and they wanted to. Yeah, I mean that didn't go anywhere, did it?
No.
Spike?
No, but I just remember it being so odd. People were talking about this thing, and then I was like, wait a minute, isn't that Coco Rex? No, this is Rex Coco.
Right.
Get it
Right.
right.
I just wondered, like, do you have a breakdown? Like, because I remember there was McGee and Me, and there was Secret Adventures, and there were a few other things like that. But like, how much of the work, like, did come from Tom Ruegger? I mean, like,
Yeah, we would never have survived without Tom Ruegger. I mean, I would say 60 to 70% of our work came from Tom. And Tom, we need to hear more from you.
Okay, you got any work, Tom?
Yeah.
Well, I was just going to say that, Joanna's such a fan of all of your work that somehow all of you need to get together and do something, and Joanna's such a good artist too. And so some of you need to hire each other, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
But
we already did.
Yes. I would just say that once John and once all of you started doing, I think the first episodes of Tiny Toons that I saw, it's like, well, I was thinking we need to find every other StarToons studio on the planet or in the US. We have to find all the other animation studios like StarToons and have them do all our shows. Well, the fact is there weren't any. There were no other studios like StarToons. There was I mean, maybe somewhere on the planet, but in the English-speaking world, you were it. You were the boutique that could, which is amazing that you could handle these half-hour chunks. You could imbue them with personality that no other studio could imbue them with. The facial expressions and the understanding of the character, the drawings of the characters that showed their understanding of what was going on and delivering those jokes, extraordinary. And no other studio. I mean, you have people who are, oh, I love TMS. But the fact is the StarToons shows are the ones with all the personality. And so, it was great to have you on Tiny Toons, and then Animaniacs. It was like, without a doubt, I need you to do as much as you could. Again, I would have thrown more episodes your way, but at some point, John was like, we're good. We're good. And then I think Road Rovers. I don't think we mentioned them. Road Rovers,
right?
Hysteria, Pinky. Anyway, every show that you folks worked on, they were so much better thanks to you folks. And I'm sad that it ended. I mean, it ended for me about the same time. I think they booted me out. I think John was working on something when I got the call. Oh, you're out of here. And I'm sorry that happened. And
well, we know it wasn't your fault. And yeah, I remember that too. It was basically what AOL bought out Warner Brothers, right?
Yes, and Gene McCurdy was about to leave, and I think someone who was going to come in next. Spike, was it Sander?
I believe Sander came in next.
Yeah, and I don't think Sander really was,
otherwise known as Voldemort.
Yeah. I mean, Gene was leaving and Sander was coming in, and Sander, I think, wanted to have his own sort of regime. So, yeah.
Did he ever?
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember I think we tried to do a test for Justice League or something, and I don't know how good it was.
We had Steve Bowler who was doing a good job.
Well, anyway, I mean, look, we weren't really that kind of a studio. Our style was not like that, although James's style was always like that. But Sander Schwartz at the time, I guess, accused us of bringing in ringers to do the test.
Oh,
brutal.
Yeah. Well, I remember there, and Road Rovers, very short order, 13 episodes. So, yeah, but I don't know how many you did, but there's one Road Rovers episode that's just like a standout. It's like of all the Road Rovers, it's the one to watch. And I think it's called Where Rovers Dare. And it's done by you folks. And it's beautiful. It's like, it's a different kind of beautiful. It's just the personality. And this is like, you guys are able to take characters that you've basically never worked with before and give them more personality than any other studio. It's incredible.
Well, we had fun for a while.
Yeah, that's for sure. I joined in '91 when I was working at Kinetics before that, and basically I was freelancing for John, shooting pencil tests and stuff for Dudley, and that's how we got together. And you asked me if I wanted to go out to LA with you to look for work. But I'll never forget when we worked on, I think our first Animaniacs was the big candy store. And, we've seen the characters, we saw pencil tests of them, but I never really heard what they sounded like. And, getting the track in and cutting it together and looking at the boards that were being done, I was like, holy crap, someone put the Marx Brothers in cartoons. And I was like the biggest Marx Brothers fan when I was a kid growing up in New York. I used to record all the shows with like a cassette deck, right? And memorize all the lines of dialogue. And I'm like, Yakko's Groucho Marx and, and Wacko and Dot are like the rest of them in any given combinations. And that just really, really blew my mind. That was probably one of the most exciting things I think I experienced. Barney Rubble is our Barney. The opportunity to direct.
That was also the first episode. That particular episode was the first episode where we recorded the music. So that was the first big recording music session, which is weird because it was all out of order and things. And that's the episode when we realized, when we heard the music and the voice, I said, "Oh, this works. This is going to work out nicely." Yes.
Was that Richard Stone?
Yes. Yeah. Richard Stone. Yeah, he did the whole series. Yeah.
Incredible, yeah.
And I think one of the last things he did was the Little Go Beef.
Yeah.
Really?
Which they did at his memorial show almost in its entirety. I mean, like, I think they lopped off the head of it, but so StarToons was well represented there too.
God rest his soul. He was so talented. Who is the guy that got to take over for Richard?
Well, Steve and Julie Bernstein both worked with Richard very closely. I mean, they were the executors of his estate. They were very tight.
Oh, so, my.
But they're carrying on. They worked on the new reboot. I know that. Yeah.
By the way, I've been seeing things in the chat, and for some reason I am not able to respond. I can't type anything back, but Joanne asked if there's a way to see that Justice League test. I don't know what happened to it. I honestly have no idea what happened to it. And
Adrian has one of the drawings he just held up. I don't know.
Oh, really? Really?
I could swear that's actually one of my poses.
It's very short. It's from the Manhunters and doing one of the walks, which I believe was one of the things that they might have complained about. I'm not sure. Like you said, they thought it couldn't have been us that did it because it was too good. Whatever.
Yeah.
I saw the test. I knew you guys did it. I don't know. I didn't hear that was the spin they gave it. But yeah, I will say this, that that show killed us. So I think you may have dodged a bullet on that one. It was a bear for the 5 years I worked on it. It ground me into the ground. So
I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, sorry about that.
No, I'm just saying it was a lot. I mean, that was a huge show, and so yeah.
I remember doing we did that as a digital compositing thing because
I was trying because it jogged my memory because I didn't remember it at first, and you guys actually did finished colored work on that?
Yeah, we did because I had to call someone to ask what they wanted the streak on the flash to look like if they had some reference, and they're like, don't worry about it, don't bother.
thing I remember is my boss, Bruce. I was co-producing with Bruce Timm, and he came from cartoony stuff, but he doesn't really like it.
Right.
And I think he detected a little bit of squash and stretch.
Yeah, that might have been it.
And he was like, wait a minute. And so, because I was, I'm like, I'm not saying a word,
Yeah.
I mean, I did put in a good word, of course, because I think they did ask me about it when we were putting out tests and stuff. I was like, I don't know. What's ironic is that when I first started at your studio, they sent a tape of Batman the Animated Series.
Oh yes, that was so
asking
exciting.
you if you wanted to work on it.
Yeah.
And I remember you saying then, this show would kill us.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
you said something to that effect.
It was
And
the Man-Bat
you know,
episode, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I remember
like
watching
the
that
three
in
of
that
us
room.
putting that tape in, and we're like,
And just going, oh my God. And
it was.
I mean,
yeah.
I was always a comic book guy. So sitting in that room, I thought this will be that was my last time or my only chance to draw Batman. Which is very ironic.
You know what,
I've worked on
James?
5 Batman shows since.
James, we worked on that Tiny Toons Christmas special, and
God, yeah.
in it, Bugs Bunny makes an appearance at the very, very end.
Yeah,
And
I remember
so
that.
much animation on stuff, and then John gave that to you.
I
did
was
the
like,
Bugs Bunny, and I
I know.
remember thinking, that's it. That was my one chance to draw Bugs Bunny.
Oh, that's hilarious. Well, I would have gladly given it to you, Spike, because I was like, am I getting punked here? Because there is no way I'm worthy of doing Bugs Bunny. The one time he shows up in that whole special, I was like, oh my God, that gave me such nightmares.
I jumped at that Hysteria scene. John, you posed that, the bugs in the Wild West, I think, right? That was the only chance I ever had to animate Bugs Bunny.
And I think we did it in the Subway commercial. I think TJ House actually was the guy sending it our way at Subway with all the Bugs Bunny characters.
Yeah, Jason wrote something about Freakazoid. I don't think that's something that we ever got in our studio. I don't think we ever.
We didn't, and I was very sad about it because that was such a funny cartoon, and it was so much fun. But Tom, it sounded like it was just something that it just wasn't in the stars at the time.
Well, the first season schedule was brutal. It was just like we were way behind, and we didn't want to pester you because we would have had to. Whoever got involved was pestered because we were, we were getting footage back like August 30th, and it was supposed to be on in a week, and that was like the first stuff we got back. So it was really bad. Yeah.
Yikes.
Yeah.
Well, it was very good stuff.
I think you may have done a shot of him somewhere, but I can't remember. Yeah.
No, actually, I remember seeing Joanna drawing Freakazoid, and as she drew him, I realized I was saying to myself, "Boy, I've never drawn him."
Yeah.
One last thing I want to ask you. You probably know the answer to this, Ron, or maybe Spike does. But who was the guy that designed our logo? He had an underground comic strip called Pigeon People.
Oh, that was Jim Sergey. That was Jeff's brother. It was BB and the Pigeon People with Jim Sergey and.
It wasn't Jim Sergey.
Lynch? Was it Lynch?
I'll look it up on Google.
Lynch?
Yeah, Lynch. Yeah, Jay Lynch.
Jay Lynch, that was it.
Yeah, he did that with Jim Sergey.
He did the Pigeon People with him?
Yeah, Jeff's brother.
I just know I paid Jay Lynch $60 to do that logo.
Wow.
It's a good value.
That was good value.
And who were the representations? We had what was this? Was it Candy? Who was this girl on the swinging from the StarToons logo?
It was Candy.
Yeah, Candy.
Candy, and we had the bear, right? With Jeff Sergey animate the bear throwing the letters out.
Yeah. Jeff just one day, I think we didn't have something for him to do, and he said he'd like to do a brand sort of thing for us, and so he he did this bear surfing.
Where is Jeff Sergey?
Yeah, where is Jeff? Is he all right?
Jeff is, I haven't been able to get a hold of him, but I mean, he went back to Chicago right before the pandemic hit. So,
So is he living there now?
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
I mean, he always had a place, you know, he was married and had a place there. So he would kind of go back and forth, you know, for that 25-year period or whatever. So
really?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
But I think he's pretty retired now. Like he's like, don't talk to me about animation. So
who is it? Yeah.
He was kind of a grumpy old man even when he was young though. Wasn't he?
Jeff was great. I met him like the first day in animation. He and his brother Jim were animating on a thing over at Senate, and they sat up in this little loft, and they were the funniest guys. And Jeff's animation was so like expressive and spring loaded. It was just very exciting. And I remember he did a lot of freelance on StarToons shows before he came over there. Like I know he did a couple of shots at least in the potty years.
Maybe, yeah.
Because I remember Tony, I think you assisted that his work on that. And anyway, but Jeff was great. I mean, obviously Kirk Tingblad, who I hoped would join. You know, he was obviously a big part of things.
Yeah,
you know, especially on Animaniacs, and he came in after Henny Youngman Day was finished, but you know, a lot of great people and a lot of great memories and a lot of laughs too, you know. So,
by the way, I just wanted to insert Stan Fukuoka says hello to everybody. He couldn't make it today, but I was trying to reach out to him and he said he couldn't make it to the thing. So
okay.
The big kahuna.
Stan was, I think, our first professional layout guy, wasn't he?
Yeah. And then Doug Rice.
Hey, I wanted to jump in. I think, you know, as part from everybody, thanks to Ron for putting this together. I mean, what an incredible evening here, Ron. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Ron.
Yeah, this has been awesome. Yeah, thanks for everybody's cooperation. I just pushed a few buttons and typed a few letters, but it's nice to see the enthusiasm is still here. I love, you know, people talking about StarToons, the legends of StarToons. I'm not kidding. We should do like a book, pitch a Netflix series. We should appear at conventions, sign autographs.
Yeah, I do appreciate.
You know what? It's something that it really is something that's kind of like historical and hysterical at the same time. I mean, that's
there you go.
Right there.
I kind of think of StarToons would make a great show, like Duck Factory. That
remember
Jim
Duck
Carrey-
Factory with Jim Carrey?
Yeah. That just like make it StarToons. You know, pitch it. It's Duck Factory except true.
I appreciate, Ron, that you're putting a lot of the old stuff on your YouTube page too. That's nice to see. Some of the chalk box that I missed from John and all that.
Yeah, is there a spot where we can put up artwork and stuff, or does anybody have like what do people have? I have just like a little stack of drawings. I didn't manage to save a lot. It was just whatever accidental stuff ended up in my hands. But people have things, or
Don't we have a Facebook page? Isn't there a StarToons Facebook page?
Yeah, isn't there there's a no, it's a blog.
There was a blog page that I think
the link to the blog.
Yeah.
Didn't Dave Pryor made that, and I don't think anybody's posted on it for about 12 years.
No, it's a little defunct, but it's still there if you want to take a look at it.
It is?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and put a link in the chat, Dave.
Yeah, that was on GeoCities, right?
Yeah, something like
it was
that.
blogspot.com, I think.
Okay, so answer me this: who did this drawing? Is that John or Spike?
Oh wow, potty years.
I believe that looks like a Spike drawing.
That's like straight from the Warner Brothers lot. I managed to get that, and I have this slide, but it's probably a Spike.
Wow.
You thing.
So this one will probably, I honestly, if I ever had the chance, I would send this around the world to have all of you sign it. So maybe that'll happen one of these days.
Owens, what were you holding up?
Oh, those are some of my Animaniac drawings. Oh wait, Dave Pryor, you probably know that.
Oh, yeah.
Schnitzel and Floyd.
Yeah.
That was magic time, yeah.
Yeah.
What a treat.
Is it possible to make a new post on the StarToons blog thing here?
Yeah, I think I got one here from, can you see it? I can't
No, Rob.
get it to show up.
No.
It's not showing
But
up.
it's hiding your face, so
I
it's
know.
okay.
Well, that's,
Yeah, it's all magic time. No, there's only one of you. Yeah.
All right, here I got a couple of classics for you. This is a McClenahan. These are the non-show bits. So this was Hampton J. Pig when we were discussing what happened to his mother. In a grocery store trying to reassemble his mom from.
Oh God.
And this is a classic. I believe this is Spike. That on Taz, I think it was Taz and Pterodactyl when the kite crashes and there's this big explosion, and I went and referenced Akira for the explosion, and Spike was like, "Dude, this doesn't work. It's like total anime stuff." So he drew this thing.
Funny stuff.
Well, we should never share the birthday cards.
Oh no, no.
I got right here. Do you see it?
I have scans
dear.
of them somewhere.
Oh, really?
Oh, nice.
Adrian, say something so we get you a viewer. Say something.
I tried to say something. I got mine from pretty much like one and only opportunity I had to get one from everybody when I knew I was like officially in. So down on these.
Cool.
And here's one last Jon McClenahan classic for you. Just tell me if you can see that.
Wow, too soon.
Wait.
It's Montana Max getting his head blown off like Kennedy. It's the Zapruder tune.
You get to see it. Oh, dog.
You see that? Hold on, here we go.
We're having trouble.
That's the fun we're talking about.
There you go.
Good thing we didn't have an HR at StarToons. That's all I'd say.
Well, I don't know the way
I
everybody
remember
else
the
experiences
Gerbil
it.
Brothers wall being removed at some point.
Which one? What was that?
The Gerbil Brothers wall.
Oh, gosh.
Hey, John Griffin, does that look familiar to you? Was this you or John?
Yeah, that's probably me.
Oh no.
Wow.
Sorry, Spike.
I have a question about all the artwork that you guys still have from StarToons. Did you just grab random stacks of drawings and beat it out the door?
You know, I was going to ask that question too, because
We destroyed everything.
Yeah,
we had to destroy everything.
we were told.
I'll tell you exactly what has happened. This has been the same for when we were working with paper, like back then, even out here in LA. Every job that I had, because I jumped around a lot, it's like when a gig was over or an episode was over, whatever, I would put like a Staples box on the floor and I would sweep my hand across my bookshelf and throw everything into a box. You know, pencils, whatever stuff I had, soda can, whatever was sitting there would go into a box. So some of this, I mean, these couple of things were things we laughed about, you know, these little parody things that John did. I only have a few of them. I have a Kevin Smith one too, about what about the baby, him yelling into the microphone. But most of this stuff, if it's like legitimate stuff from the show, sometimes it was a bad drawing, like a bad cleanup or just something that there was 2 copies of or whatever, and it kind of ended up in there. I don't have like a ton of stuff. Now, granted, a couple of these cells and things I purchased from Warner Brothers on their.
Yeah, I ended up buying something from like they at the studio, they had like these cell sales. Tom, you remember that stuff?
Yeah.
And they would, you know, they'd have like bins of stuff, and then you could go through and look for, oh, look, somebody this is something I'd like, or, oh, hey, here's something I even drew. And I remember one time buying something and Ruth Clampett, I gave it to Ruth Clampett and I was like, hey, I drew this. And she's like, yeah, I'm still going to have to charge you for it. But,
Dude, I was at WonderCon in, whatever, last month or a month and a half ago or so. And there's a company, actually, Ruth Clampett used to own all that stuff. They used to do the sales on the lot. She sold everything. She sold all the Warner Brothers artwork from the store to an independent company called, I want to say the Cell Connection or
It's called Choice. It's called Choice Fine Art.
That's it.
And you can go to their website. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was looking through their bin, and there was a cell set up from the Tiny Toons Christmas special. That was one of the drawings that I did. That, Plucky's mouth looks really bad on it, and I'm like, I know that was my drawing, but that was there, and it was like, I don't know, $600 or something, and everyone was saying like, oh, you should buy it. I'm like, I'll spend $600 on this thing. But they're still floating around out there. There's still things that show up.
Now, who directed the Minerva cartoon?
Kirk, I think.
Yeah, Kirk.
Yeah, yeah. So they have a bunch of those. They have Shatner cartoon with Warner's. They've got a bunch of your stuff.
Karaoke Dokie.
Yeah. Yes. I'm looking at them right now. It's all sorts of StarToons cells, way overpriced, and but you can download the image for free, right? I mean, I don't know.
Do a screen grab.
Yeah.
Well, I got.
Did anybody else manage to salvage any stuff or no?
Yeah, I have a story that I guess it's past the statute of limitation, so I don't think I get in trouble for it. But I directed Brain's Apprentice, and Spike did some great drawings, and I wanted to save one of his drawings of the brain from a cell, and so every now and then we had certain shots that couldn't be handled overseas, and so we sent them back to Chicago, and I shot them on George's stand at Kinetics. So this one shot, there was no reason for it to be brought back here, but I flagged it to be brought back here. And I changed the cell count so that last drawing was actually duplicated on the exposure sheets. And I shot it at I shot it at Kinetics, and I pulled that extra cell. I erased it from the exposure sheet. I changed the cell count on the scene folder. Wow. And I kept that one for myself. I've always had that one.
Ocean's 11, yeah.
That sounds like the start of a Columbo episode or something.
Yeah.
That was my scheme. That was my scheme to get my single cell.
Who'd you kill? I'll just tell you, when I started in animation, I worked in Australia. I worked at Hanna-Barbera studio in Australia, and they would keep every show, the entire season on, the cells and the scene folders and everything, all the drawings on, they would keep them on these, hallway of shelves, and they had to keep them until the show went to air. And then as soon as it went to air, they'd back up a dump truck to the back window and just pitch them out, dump trucks full of drawings and cells. And that I remember I was at the time working on Teen Wolf back in, I don't know when it was, 85 or something, which was the first series I got to direct. And I thought, I'm going to pull out a few cells from scenes I animated. So yeah, but then they were just throwing them out by the dump truck.
That's
production cells.
And
I was impressed when I started working with John.
Like we did some stuff where we had we were doing some direct to videos, and we had great animators animating on stuff. I mean, John, you were a part of that. We sent all of that stuff over to Korea to be finished up, and my assumption is that, well, Warner Brothers would recall that artwork. That was essentially all of the it was production, but it was kind of like our pre-production. We went over into production, and then I found out later on that they called back like a couple of couple of shots per and through the and had them destroy everything. So
Yeah, they make you
it's like
choose. They would ask you to choose what pieces you wanted to save or what sections. at
Well,
a
they
time.
didn't ask
They don't
me
even do that
anything.
anymore.
I was shocked to find that out, like that they had, like, and they wring their hands at the you know, when they threw out all of that, dug a pit and burned all the art in the 70s, and then I'm like, oh, they're just doing the same thing. So it's
Well, here's my little story about that. This is why I feel no guilt if I ever take any drawings from anything now, which they don't exist now anyway. I worked on Dilbert like 20 years ago, that series that lasted for 2 seasons. And I was an overseas supervisor, and I managed to pick some cells when I was over there that they were tossing and whatever. But when I came back and I was working in the studio here, which was on the corner of, it was the Academy building in LA. One day I walked into the conference room, and there were tons of, but probably like 150 giant boxes. And I'm like, what is this? So I open up one of them, and it's filled with all of the folders of all of our art, you know, all of the production folders, with all the layouts, all the paper drawings, boxes filled completely with cells, literally everything from the show. And I walked into the producer's office, and I'm like, so what are these doing here? They're like, oh, they're going to probably do some cell setups and so forth. And I'm like, would it be possible for us to get, like, maybe everybody who works on the show gets one setup of something they worked on or whatever? No. Can't do that. It's just like some of the higher ups are going to get a cell setup. I'm like, okay. So about 3-4 days later, I go in there. These boxes are all gone. What happened to them? I asked. Nobody has any clue. Fast forward about 6 months, I'm floating around on eBay just for the hell of it, and I see Dilbert cells for sale. And in the listing, there's a whole series of photographs. There's a photograph of a rollback truck. The next photo is the back of the truck rolled up with all these boxes in it. Then there's photos of the boxes open with these folders. And somebody, I don't know if they just dumped the whole thing and someone managed to get literally everything from that room and has been selling them ever since for 10 years at this point, whatever, on eBay. And you can look on there and still see folders that show up that have my name as approving the scene and like the background person's signature. So that's, I really feel no guilt because, Spike, like you were saying, they throw this stuff in the garbage. And at this point, it's all passe because it's all digital anyway, but they honestly didn't care. They did it. So Warner Brothers did, apparently. So.
But some of it lives on. So that's.
Who's that? Is that Spike? Is it
John? That looks like John.
Is it John?
Hang on. Sorry. We're having trouble, technical difficulties here.
Sure.
You gotta keep talking so you stay as the viewer.
So
Perry, keep talking so speaker view will, so keep you on speaker view, Perry. Just keep talking.
There's a classic Slappy.
That looks like Spike.
No, I think that's you, John. Look at the handwriting on it.
Yeah, that knuckle, that's you.
All right, talk again, Perry.
All right, here you go. Right here on screen for you.
That's a John handle.
That's your fist there.
You're right.
You're right. That's John text.
And here's one of the few. This is a Mary Hanley.
Okay, yeah, she worked on that one. That was Wacko's America, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mary did a good job on that. Mary was very talented.
Yeah.
She smoked a lot, I think.
Has anybody heard from Mary?
I haven't heard from her in a really long time. I haven't spoken to her. She moved back east. She was taking care of her mom or something. I'm not sure about the whole story, so don't quote me, but I don't even know if she's in LA, if she ever came back or not. So
Yeah, she was very talented. She was in my class at Columbia. Like, so she was a great assistant. And I remember when John was like moving her into animation, and I was like, oh
yeah,
like that was I mean, always the tough thing about somebody. Good news for somebody was like, oh no, we're losing a great assistant too.
Yeah, she had a great line, and she was a great draftsman, and she had everything. But I think I mentioned this on my my online interview with the Animaniacs cast people, but I felt bad promoting her because she was just such a terrific assistant, but I didn't want her ability as an assistant to preclude her success as an animator. And she was a good animator too.
Once again, a lot of magic out of that studio.
Yeah.
And in such a short period of time. That's the thing that I am always like shocked by when I think about that stuff, and when people start mentioning all of the different titles of all of the shows, and it's like that stuff happened in a really, really short period of time.
Yeah.
Another guy that was at Columbia and was a TA of mine was Candy, and he went on to do great things.
And Rob Renzetti, they were both there at the same time.
Yeah, Rob kind of fell off the end of the earth or something, but or is he still going? What's going on?
Yeah, I think he's still going. He did a lot of stuff, but he's didn't do as many high profile projects as Gandhi. Gandhi obviously has a couple of really big things under his belt. So
yeah, I think I was Gendy's TA. He was a student class, I think animation 2 that I was a TA for at Columbia. Just remember, we always kind of made fun of him because he would always wear shorts and sandals even in the winter.
Yeah, well, he was Russian, so that was warm weather for him.
I remember he assisted a couple of shots that I did, and I don't think he was there very long. But then years later, Tony, on a show that Tony and I did, he was a guest voice on there. So, and did he play himself, or I think he kind of did.
Remember, we did like a parody of Samurai Jack, and we had basically his whole crew working on it. So we were like, you may as well come in and do a voice because we stole your whole crew for a while. He is a good sport.
Heather says hi.
Oh yeah, Heather says hi.
I saw her. Hi, Heather.
Hi, Heather.
The through line for Columbia is all of us took classes with what was his name? The guy that did Betty Boop. Gordon Sheehan.
Oh, Gordon Sheehan. Geez,
we all had Gordon Sheehan at one point. That was the class that I was a TA in.
Okay.
Picking on Gordon. Gordon had a short temper. And evidently his sense of humor didn't carry on with him.
He was a curmudgeon. That's the thing. It's like, and
he was a curmudgeon.
Kind of gang up on him and go, Gordon, what did Betty Boop used to say? And he would kind of shuffle and go, boop boopy doop.
I had heard about Gordon, but I don't think I ever met him.
Yeah.
But he was,
back in the day, John, when you were teaching over at Columbia, like that school, I remember doing animation, like camera stuff on a TRS 80 machine, trying to program this thing to do camera moves. And now you go back and they've got like the whole block, and they've taken over like everything, and they very high profile, like design students, fashion design, and it's insanity. Crazy.
They're not developing pencil tests in a bucket anymore?
No.
My hand still smells from development.
Yeah, with your hand, with a bare hand.
My liver is infused with silver because of that.
Joanna, see what you're missing? See what you're missing? All this old school having a developed film in a bucket?
Yeah.
In the dark?
You know how much I wish I could have been a part of that.
No, you don't, Joanna.
No.
I don't know. There's something very sterile about animation now that, nobody really has any war stories anymore. Just like I drank a lot of coffee and stayed up late,
Well, we did drink a lot of coffee.
Oh yeah.
There's something about a real physical community that makes a big difference.
Yeah.
I got to say one more thing about John, because there's just so many things that impressed me about him. But everybody knows that John's like just an incredible artist, right? Just incredible. You put a pencil in his hand, just amazing. What's even more amazing is just passing by his cubicle and seeing dozens of torn up and crumpled up pieces of paper on the floor below his desk because those drawings weren't good enough for him. And that was always there. It was always littered with paper, and you could look at it and see, like, this is the most amazing drawing. It might have not been right for that pose or that time of the animation or whatever, but Jon was never, it didn't seem to ever be a point where you were just satisfied and just would whip through stuff. And it was really, I think, inspiring to a lot of the people that worked there as well, to see you kind of like holding yourself up to that kind of standard as well.
Well, you know, inside I was always scared to death. First of all, that somebody would discover that I couldn't draw and model, and so I just, yeah, it was like if I would finish a drawing, or I'd get a drawing laid out and I'd look at it, and it started trying to negotiate with me. You know, the drawing started saying, "I'm pretty, aren't I?" And I'm like, "I don't think so." And there were enough times, I guess, as an early animator where I trusted the drawing and I shouldn't have. And so I came with experience just to realize that drawing had to die. And I had to kill it, and it would just go on the floor. And again, that idea that, yeah, we've all got 15,000 bad drawings in us. I just say, okay, you're one of them, and you're out of here.
How much footage were you doing? I mean, like, I remember going, like, I think I was getting to about 40 feet a week, but I know that you know, and I think Kirk did a lot of footage. What were you had to be doing way more than that. Do you know?
Yeah, I was aiming for 100. And I do it sometimes, but
oh my God.
I kind of would say, yeah, I'm gonna, and I don't know. I think I averaged maybe 75 or something.
Wow.
Because I mean, that was a massive amount of drawings to do, because the stuff is relatively full stuff. I mean, 75 feet, or, you know, I mean, is sounds almost impossible, but
yeah.
You could do it. Spike, here's the thing. You could have done it. And yeah, Spike was doing pretty much consistently 40 feet a week. And it was 40 feet of brilliant stuff. And I just always thought, if you could just lower your standard a little bit, you could have got that 75 feet like I did.
You know, if I could interject, the amazing thing to me was it was 75 feet, but relatively clean stuff. So as assistants, we didn't really have to do much except for not kill it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I didn't trust my assistants either. That was what I tried.
Except for me.
Oh yeah, I trusted you a lot, Kevin. But no, I learned while I was in Australia that, you know, what a cleanup artist could do to your drawing if you weren't careful. So I got a little bit paranoid about that too.
Yeah, I'd done some cleanup for his Dudley commercials, and he was like, "You do a good job." And I'm like, "Dad, I'm just tracing your drawing. I mean, I don't even have to pay attention."
I didn't trust my son either.
but to do that much footage and it being that tight is amazing. And yeah.
I feel like I'm going to get arrested for some of these at some point. This is actually a really good one.
Well, keep talking.
Some beautiful stuff here. This is a Jon for sure. It's got to be. Yeah?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Yep.
You can always tell by the writing. Jon writes backwards because he's left-handed, right? You're a southpaw?
No, I am right-handed, but I hold my pencil like I'm left-handed.
Yeah, something weird.
Do I hear 100? 100 for a StarToons?
I can always tell by the hand. My dad's drawings.
Speaking on the hand note, this was unofficial, hanging in my cube. If you can read.
Dude, one of the lessons from Jon, man, that pinky finger, bend it in, give a little variance to that hand.
Yeah, the cigarette box.
Cigarette box, yeah.
Good stuff, man.
Wow.
Hey, John, pardon my ignorance. I haven't seen you doing a lot of posts. Last things I think I saw was you doing a lot of farm work. Are you doing any sort of art stuff anymore? Are you teaching?
No.
Online?
Yeah, I'm not doing much artwork at all.
You just did a board.
I did a board for Child Evangelical Fellowship, and I'm living down near Springfield, Missouri, and I've got 43 acres of cattle pasture, and it's nice living out in the country. You're all invited if you ever want to come down. It's near Branson. You can go see, hillbillies sing. And
Is that still Comet Crossing? Is that what it was called?
yeah, it was called Comet Crossing. It's in an area of Walnut Grove that used to be called Comet. And so I kind of resurrected the name, and yeah, we called our ranch Comet Crossing.
I'm going to be in Branson in August.
Are you really?
With the car club.
Well, will you come?
I got to say yes.
Yeah. we got room at our place. It's a nice big house. So you come, Phil Gullett, doggone it. Stay overnight with us. It's about an 1.5 hour drive to Branson from our place. Anyway.
And Phil will get there in half the time that MapQuest says in his souped up car.
Yeah. So Walnut Grove is about 8 hours from Chicago. And we do the trip quite a bit. We keep coming back. We still got kids living over there.
We have a plethora of grandchildren.
Yeah, we've got how many grandchildren?
15.
15 grandchildren.
Wow.
How about it?
You're not starting another studio up? You got like a whole crew.
That's the new plan. Yeah.
They're like 15 in-betweens.
Man, if you were Greek, you'd be having your own Greek restaurant now. That's all they do is have all their kids working for them.
We have relatives.
Yeah, there you go.
To answer Chris's question, everyone at StarToons had they finish a drawing, it's either that goes in the scene folder, or it's junk, or it goes in the keeper pile because it's kind of funny. Everyone had a keeper pile. Mine was about 10 inches high. That's what I have.
Oh, nice.
Wow. Well, good to know. Good to know.
Well, it was great to see everybody. I'm really glad that this happened. And I think that we're all here once again to thank Jon for the incredible experience we had. Don't make faces like that. You're responsible, whether you like it or not.
Like that.
And,
this is all your fault.
Yeah, and Tom Ruegger for encouraging the insanity and for giving us probably some of the greatest stuff that we worked on in our entire careers.
Right.
And thank you, Joanna, for joining us to bear witness to this, and all my old colleagues and friends, especially the OG guys. I haven't seen them forever, like Spike and Tony and Noel, and Jesus, so many of you guys I haven't seen in so long. James Tucker and TJ was here, and for all of you guys, it's just wonderful to be following you over the years through Facebook or whatever you've been doing. You got a little Puente sticking his face in there. Nice to see him too. And anyway, this is it's a long time coming. It's been over 30 years since I joined StarToons, and about 25 years since we were in the thick of it. So a lot of great times working there, a lot of challenging stuff, I think, for all of us. Any last words?
Yeah, I was going to say.
I just want to say one thing real quick. My sister said to say hi to everybody. So I don't know if you guys remember her, but
Sure.
Maria was an assistant and worked a lot of good shots. So she's
tell her we said hi.
I'll
And
just
John
say-
Griffin.
Oh, I was just going to comment on Ron's Screen Magazine thing, because I cut out my Screen Magazine blurb when it said something like Senate Director goes to StarToons, staff doubles in size, and I took that personally.
Not to prolong this, but do we have any word on people who couldn't join us tonight, like Doug Rice, Steve Bowler, Doc Reedy, what they're up to? Anything?
Yeah, Doc Reedy sent his apologies. He couldn't make it. Vince Proce is in high demand now. He's working with his buddy, what's his name?
Guillermo del Toro.
Yeah, he's working with Del Toro a lot.
Wow.
So yeah, he's in high demand.
Yeah, Prost got right out of the animation industry, but he's may have become the most successful of all of us.
He's a made man.
He is.
Phil, do you remember what you said when I interviewed him and hired him? You were not happy about that. You thought we hired a crazy person.
Well, he had the sweetest demeanor, you know.
Well, what happened was Vince was talking to Phil about being able to see things, creatures and stuff like that. Remember? And I went and saw his portfolio and I drooled over it and I said, "Yeah, we for sure let's hire this guy." Yeah. And then you came in, Phil, and you're like, "You hired that guy?" Do you remember that?
Dimly now, yeah. But I gotta say, I worked with him on it. My new job. He's a contractor. We had both mellowed in our old age, and we are fast pals now.
That's great.
Yeah, he's
Vince is great.
He's a sweetheart, man.
Yeah, but the days when I first worked with him, we were tucked in that room and back. He wasn't always super happy. But...
There we go. Thanks, Mike.
Mike, didn't you pull him back into animation for a while on your project?
Yeah, he came up to direct on the show for a couple of months, and that's right when Guillermo snagged him.
Mike.
Thanks, Mike.
The first time I had to Zoom with Vince for work, because we're going to contract, and he wanted to talk about After Effects. First I had seen or heard from him in 20, whatever years, whatever it was, and the first it was out of his mouth, "Fucking Phil, man."
Do you guys remember his project, his private or his individual project, Neverland Gnomes?
Neverland Gnomes, yeah.
I don't know how I still have some of his artwork from that.
I think I animated the scene for him.
It was such an energetic project that I just don't know that we could have, kept up with it for his vision.
Send those to Guillermo.
Yeah.
Vince has got the job.
I was a bodyguard for a while on my show when I was dealing with my show partner and the networks and stuff. And anyone was giving me shit, Vince would literally stand between me and that person. And for 2 months, but he set the standard for not to mess with me because Vince was somewhere in the corner.
Yeah, me and Vince were like the India 3. We're the 3 animation directors that John sent to Hart.
Yeah, I got to go to India for a couple of weeks in the Philippines, the Phil cartoons.
Oh yeah,
that was a fun trip.
Yeah, John was out there. John, you were out there when I was there one time because I think I walked in on you getting a massage at the guest house.
You weren't supposed to talk about that.
Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot. Guys code.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Yeah, I remember getting one massage in India, and it was some young man, and he beat the hell out of me.
Yeah,
he was.
Yeah, James. All right, we're losing people here, so
okay.
Let everyone just say goodbye, and let's do it again. Let's not take 30 years to do this again. Maybe we can do something in person one day.
It's been a pleasure, everybody. Hey, and you know what? We really should plan on doing something at C2E2 or pick one of these joints and do I can do some recon, or Ron, you probably know how to do it as well, to contact some people and set up a panel and bore everybody with our stories.
Now that has the ring of coolness to it. I will need to be able
fly
to
back to Chicago. I would totally do it.
I will need to connect with John Mack when I'm down in Branson to see where the hell am I going?
Yeah, I wish. Give me your email address, or I tell you what, I'm just going to give you guys mine, okay? So you just.
No, John, don't say anything because it's being recorded. So just do it privately. I don't want everyone
to do it in the chat. Can you just type it in the chat?
Type it in the chat. You can't
I don't know what's going on. It won't let me get the chat thing going.
We cannot get into the chat. I've been trying to.
Don't worry. I have John's email. I could give it out to anybody. I just don't want to put it up here.
Yeah, Ron,
Yeah,
Ron, can you share the emails with everyone unless people don't want to do that?
Yeah, okay, sure. I'll do that. I could do that on that Facebook Messenger thing where everyone's connected.
Yeah.
you go.
If
There
you
you
can
go.
monetize mine, God bless you.
All right, everybody. Thank you so
All right.
much for doing this.
Listen.
Geez, this is 3 hours, man. That flew.
Yeah, and that's the thing is like animation just takes so long to do, and it takes so long to talk about too, doesn't it? But it was so great to see everybody, and so great to see all your beautiful faces.
You too, John.
All right, guys. Everyone take
Once
care.
again,
Be
John,
healthy.
thanks so much.
Stay well.
Thanks, Ron.
Thanks, Ron.
Thanks,
Bye,
Ron.
guys.
Everybody.
Loads of love, everybody.
All right.
The end.